The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Scott Norton, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
What? Hey? He's sketchy. What? What? What the? What is going on? Is it 2017, Kevin? Zack Sabre Jr. is warming up in the ring, and we're hearing the low IQ music of Kazuchika Shibata. What the? Is this a time walk? Have we fallen down a time slip? If I could go back and have one more Shibata match. Kazuchika Shibata's dressed to fight, Kevin. What the hell is going on? I have no idea, but I love it. My pal Joel Yentis has just spit his tea and wet his pants. What? This is a moment. What is this? What the heck is going on? I thought we were going to hear from Zack. What? You are kidding. This is a 5-minute special exhibition UWF rules match. Are you kidding? 183cm85kg ザック・セイバージュニア赤コーナー 183cm95kg 柴田勝頼 I have goosebumps all up and down my body. What in the world?
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the G1 Climax 31 finals, the return of Shibata, the Power Struggle Tour, answering listener questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leave a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWworld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Like, the whole time while you're doing that rundown, I was just wondering, like, why don't you ask me if I want to do that rundown, you know?
Well, I mean, you have done it a couple times before.
Right, and that's like being like, yeah, you won a couple matches, but doing all these jobs out here, I don't understand. Like, am I not over with the people? Is my voice not attractive enough to introduce this product? Like, I don't understand. You know?
It's not for you, baby. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. Crazy week in the world of wrestling. It just seems, bro, like, it seems like so much is happening at this point. Like, I'm not even really able to keep up with everything that's going on, you know? And even so much of it is like New Japan adjacent, you know?
Right, there's things happening all over. You got things obviously in New Japan. You got things going on in Impact, AEW, GCW. Things are going all over the world, and
the Indies, MLW, Rev Pro, like it's a lot.
Right, and when you think, oh man, G1's over, gonna get a little break for a little bit, maybe a week or so off. We got a fully loaded Power Struggle tour with several Road 2 shows. We already had 3 Road 2 shows that have happened so far, leading into the big Power Struggle card that is coming up on November 6th. So,
yeah, I mean, before we really get into things, maybe that's a good place to just kind of start since we're opening things up. Like, how do you feel about this many Road 2 shows in the build to, the big Power Struggle? I mean, are you pro or are you negative on this?
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle because, I mean, obviously, you're building up a big pay-per-view show. You want to get some build. You want to move storylines along. That is set some stuff up in G1, but you need to, flush the stories out a little bit. But at the same time, we're literally just coming off of G1, and we're just loaded with all these Road 2 shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just feeling like that's true. They got stuff to build to. They got a big show. That's all great, but New Japan's never been, or at least in modern times, they haven't really been a company that's been known for having these excellent 10. How many shows are there?
Let's see. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, actually 9.
Okay, so I was close. I've never known them to be a company that like maximized their points over a 9-night spread. Like they've never been one to like tell just incredible intricate stories over that time period. There usually seems to be one of two things that happen, and this is not really speaking against the quality of the matches. I'm sure the matches are gonna be fine, but you either get 1 or 2 big moments throughout the tour for each feud, or you get a lot of the same thing happening night after night after night after night. For instance, we're going to talk about it, but like, with Yano and Great Ocon, you're going to get a lot of amateur roll-ups and a lot of people trying to kiss each other's feet. And it's just going to be that same motive over and over and over again. They might throw a little wrinkle here and there, but it's not necessarily like required viewing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So like, I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, man, we're coming off the G1. We're going to talk about the G1. There's a lot that was, people are calling this a cursed G1. They're calling it the G1 that time's going to forget, the snake bit G1. And so, you do want to start off high. And the good news is we are getting one big Power Struggle show instead of like 2 or 3 nights of Power Struggle. It's just one, which is awesome. At the same time, we got to go through 9 Road 2 shows to get there. And I don't know if what they've got on the paper is really inspiring people to come out of the road, woodworks and, not watch Dynamite or not watch, Monday Night Raw or whatever it is that they're tuning into to maybe instead spend their time on, Road to Power Struggle Night 7.
Right. I mean, they're trying. They brought out the version 4 IWGP Heavyweight Title. We'll talk about that in a second. They have Hiromu wearing shorts. They have IWGP Junior Tag Team Title match. So they're throwing out some stuff.
All right, so they're trying. So maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just for me, like even me doing the show, I'm like, damn, dude, like 9, 10 Road 2s. That's like excessive,
Right. And also the thing with the people who are, our listeners, people who are just watching, like also you don't have to watch all 9 Road 2s. Also, I would say, watch the title matches, watch some of the multi matches. Well, I know we do, yeah.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about for me.
Well, we're going to get to all that stuff in a second. But first, what's the one to talk about our G1 31 contest? Give a shout out to our 3 winners here. So after 19 grueling nights and all the predictions and Naito's knee injuries, we have 3 placers here for our prizes. So coming in 3rd place, the username was just Brian. You're winning the King of Strong Style Shinsuke Nakamura biography there, and I'll email all you guys because I'm sure there's probably a couple different Brians, but this person gets to put Brian as their username that was on the board. Second place, Sergey Safanov. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you got second place with the,
that sounds good enough.
with the Lions Pride book, and then the winner, first place, 79 points overall.
Chris Charlton was actually the winner this year's G1 31. I don't think he should be allowed to play if he's on the broadcast team. I'm sure he's got some inside, notes from the booker. That doesn't sound right to me.
No, it wasn't Chris Charlton, unless he was using the alias Lucas Wolf. So Lucas Wolf, congrats, you are our grand prize winner. $50.
That is Chris Charlton's alias. I thought you knew that.
I didn't.
Oh yeah. So Chris,
he's working
congratulations, aka Mr. Lucas Wolf. If that's not a worker's name, I don't know what is.
It does sound like a wrestling name, yeah.
But not like a world champion, but like the guy that would be standing in the ring after the commercial came back. on like a Saturday morning Superstars, and Ahmed Johnson's gonna beat the fuck out of him.
Lucas Wolf, you got a $50 Pro Wrestling Tees gift card. I'll be emailing all of you guys. So thank you to everybody who entered in our contest. And the next big fan interactive thing you guys can get ready for is our 5th annual Keeping It Strong Style year-end awards. We'll have to be working on that. Voting should be available at the end of November, and about a month's time to vote on that, a month length from November to December. So we'll be getting that ready for you guys.
Quite a bit for us to start working on it. This year's just been a whirlwind. But congratulations, guys. Thank you for playing. Thank you for everybody for participating and making another great G1 Pick'em contest. Even if the G1 wasn't great, the Pick'em was awesome.
Yeah. So let's finish off our G1 coverage here with the last 2 nights. So when we last recorded, we left off. They were getting ready to kick off night 18, which was the B block final night. Show opened up. We had Jam Project performing Max the Max, which was the G1 Climax theme song. Can't get it out of my head. Fun little performance there to open up the show.
Yeah, I heard people complaining about this and all that, but to me, this was probably the best G1 theme song I can remember in a long time.
Yes, it was.
so it was fine with me. I prefer this over Flow Ride at WrestleMania. So.
And then from there, show opened up. We had Bushi and Hiromu defeating Fujita and Oiwa. So very similar to what we've seen in the past when these teams faced off. Then the first G1 matchup of the evening was Yoshihashi defeating Chase Owens, 8 minutes and 27 seconds. Then we had Hiroki Goto defeating Tama Tonga, 15 minutes and 19 seconds. And I will say about this matchup, I definitely feel like they should have given this one to Tama Tonga, especially since we know now what is coming up in the future for him.
Yeah, that booking decision doesn't make sense. And it's okay, I get it. You guys want Goto to be at par, but maybe you shouldn't have beaten him like a like a drum the entire tournament, and you wouldn't be in the predicament where he has to get these crucial 2 points over Tama Tonga. That doesn't make sense at all.
Right? Yeah, maybe you put him in the A block and put somebody else in the B block who could eat those losses, and yeah.
This is also a weird oversight. I'm not used to them having these sort of loose ends. I know not every round robin tournament that Gedo books can be perfect, but this is the G1. And typically speaking, if you see someone that's going to be getting a push down the road, maybe a briefcase challenge or some sort of challenge like that, they're going to win the last night. And
right.
So this was just kind of bizarre. I don't know.
Right. It looks kind of dumb. He loses and then he's going in the back and facing off against Okada. It's bro, you just lost to Goto, the geek.
Yeah. Well, we're used to people losing to Goto and then coming out at the end of the night and getting big challenges. What's up, Kenta?
What's up, Suzuki? Then the next matchup, we had Tai Chi defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, and I love this matchup. You had Tai Chi coming in here with the tape ribs, horrible record, lower than his previous 2 G1s, and you had a kind of a cocky ace U.S. champ Tanahashi here zeroing in on the injured ribs, kind of just grinding his foot. Kind of, sometimes Tanahashi gets in that heel mode and he'll just be very arrogant. He, working over the injury, and Tai Chi had to come in here, fight from underneath. As soon as the bell rang, he had a big dangerous suplex on Tanahashi. These guys went back and forth here for almost 15 minutes until Tanahashi, he got too cocky. He went for the high fly flow. Tai Chi moved out of the way, locked in the Gato clutch, 1, 2, 3, and Tai Chi is able to end his G1 campaign with 6 points here.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I mean, Tanahashi, 2 of the big losses. He suffered, a few losses, but 2 of the big losses, Tai Chi, Chase Owens, and those almost seem like attaboy wins,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that they are giving them elevations, quote unquote, but it's not like they're really at this point. I mean, we'll have to see post G1, but it doesn't. In fact, it somewhat feels like Tai Chi took maybe a bit of a step down in the booking this year, as opposed to like last year. Chase Owens definitely took a step up, but neither one of them are like hot on the heels of U.S. champion Hiroshi Tanahashi, even though they both beat him. So that's kind of an interesting thing there.
Yeah, and we're going to see what happens. Obviously, Tai Chi's pretty much taking off most of the Power Struggle tour, and then Chase Owens is not even getting his U.S. title match at Power Struggle.
If at all. It seems like they're teasing it, and we'll talk about that, but who knows? There's a lot of time down the road, so maybe they're still thinking of something for him and Tai Chi down the road, but it almost feels like him and Zack might just go back to the tag division, and that be that,
Right.
Or maybe this was a way for them to rehab him for doing all those losses in the tournament. I don't know.
Yeah. So in the semi-main event of the evening, we had Evil getting some revenge from last year's G1, defeating Sonata 17 minutes and 47 seconds. And
there's a part of me that feels like that's well-deserved.
Evil beating Sonata?
Yeah.
Just based on Sonata's output?
Yes. Based on Sonata's output, I do think, as much as I talk crap about Evil, he probably deserves to pick up the W against Sonata. I don't think Sonata's on his level right now.
Wow.
Hot take.
Boom.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's how boring Sonata is to me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, a guy was in the G1 finals last year. He's a guy that gets several opportunities. He had that big rivalry with Okada. They did the whole New Japan Cup storyline with him. And yeah, this G1 was just very bland for him. Obviously when he was in there with Okada and Tanahashi, he had those, 4.5-star bangers. But then every other match was mid, 3 stars, your gentleman's 3.
Listen, I know that people like to be like the shock, jock sort of, personality when it comes to podcasting and all that. And maybe there's a little bit of, I don't know, fanaticism or, whatever you want to call it with us, some razzle dazzle, but I'm being as honest as I could possibly be. This is a stone cold sober thought and take, and I'm going to just put it out there. After doing Keepin It Strong Style for almost 4 years, I am ready to absolutely, officially, positively throw in the towel on Seiya Sonata. Seiya Sonata will never, ever be a top guy in professional wrestling. Not here, not anywhere. He is an upper mid-carder. He's like the way that they treat like Cesaro in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
But Cesaro doesn't deserve it, but like Sonata 100% deserves it.
Right. And, not every guy can be a main eventer. You do need some upper mid-card guys.
But Sonata should have been.
Right, he should have, yeah.
And it's his fault.
Yeah.
Sonata screwed Sonata. Okay?
Yeah.
But like, we've been waiting for years and years, and we always see the upside and the potential. I'm done with that. I'm not having any more discussions about the potential this guy has, about his athleticism, about his skill. No, I'm done. Sonata, he's cool. He's got a spot in the roster. He's a great wrestler, but he's never going to be a top guy. Ever, 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 ever in this company, period. I'm done.
Yeah, he's not getting any younger. We got tons of guys from Noge Dojo and LA Dojo getting ready to come up.
He's at Goto. He's at the same stage as Goto, but it took him like a third of the time of Goto's like career to get there.
Oh,
All
man.
right.
Yeah.
So I want everyone to know that, like, you know, the G in Sonata stands for geek.
The G is,
G in there.
the G is silent, but he is a geek.
The G silent Sonata, and he's a geek.
Oh man, and everything is evil here. Evil gets the win. There was tons of shenanigans, as you can imagine here, but yeah, Evil ends his G1 14 points, but obviously not good enough here to be in contention for the finals. So the main event here, the block decider, Kazuchika Okada coming in with this match, 14 points. He had that one upset win from Tama Tonga the night before, coming in against Jeff Cobb, who was coming in undefeated. 8 wins back-to-back, 16 points, never done in G1 history. Young boy, how'd you feel about this B-Block final?
I was very, very impressed with this match. I thought it was very much a fitting B-Block final, especially just considering the field and this year. Like in other years, I wouldn't have necessarily considered this as anything more than just a very good G1 match. You know, I think that there's quite a few B-Block matches from last year that like would fuck this matchup. But watching it live, which I was able to do, I woke up early in the morning and watched it live. There was a bit of intrigue. Just the idea, can Cobb go undefeated in the G1? Can he like be the one? It's happened quite a few times. They on commentary they acted like only Ricky Choshu's ever done it, but it's actually happened like quite a few times. Not recently, but you know, in the history of the tournament, I think there's like 3, 4, maybe 5 times the guys have got to the finals undefeated. But you know, the idea that like, could he actually do that? You know, given the fact that it's such a big field and you know the point totals, that would have been crazy. And they told a really great story of just like, you know, Okada consistently going for the Rainmaker, not being able to get that Rainmaker, Cobb seeming to have his number, countering him in every way. Anything you could do, I could do better. This has kind of been very much the story of their previous 2 matches. You know, can Okada overcome and neutralize the power, speed, and efficiency of Jeff Cobb? And there's a lot of great spots. That double tombstone spot was one that really, really, really sticks out to me. The only thing that brought it down a bit for me was, again, the crowd and the atmosphere, I do think affected the match a little bit, but I would say for this match, I would have gone like 4 1/4, but that little bit of extra intrigue about the stakes that were involved and the history kind of bumped it up maybe a 1/4 star. I'd probably go 4 1/2 on this, but you know, that's kind of where I stand. So I thought it was a great match, and I thought it kicked the shit out of the A Block final.
Yeah, I'm right there along with you. I also did get up early to watch this match live, and I feel exactly the same way you do. Like, the match was 4 1/4 star action, but that little bit of intrigue and then just being in the B Block final, and just could Cobb actually do it? That intrigue definitely added a 1/4 star there. So I'm also 4 1/2 on it, and yeah, that double tombstone spot.
I guess they had me biting on stuff.
Yeah, they
that
did.
I wouldn't normally bite on.
Right. Yeah, that double tombstone spot where, like, yeah, Cobb hits a tombstone and pulls him back up into the spinning tombstone was awesome. The Tour of the Islands attempt off the top rope, which Okada reversed into a DDT, was awesome.
I was taken aback by that because I didn't realize he was doing... I think if I realized that he was doing a Super Tour of the Islands, I would have freaked out more. And did they say that he'd done that before? Did he do that to Will Ospreay at MSG?
I think he did.
Okay, because they kind of alluded to that, and I was like, man, I was in the building, but I don't remember that. But I thought he was doing a Bandito-esque
follow-away moonsault.
Follow-away moonsault slam, like the kind Bandito does. And I was like, oh my god, this guy's insane. And then it got turned into a DDT. I was like, well, it sucks to suck. But I didn't realize like that was almost game over, you know?
Right. And so, yeah, clearly Cobb was working over the back of Okada in the match, and Okada was working over the head, several DDTs, and again, going for that Rainmaker and finally fighting for it.
There's also a Hangman Spot where he did the drop kick to Okada, and Okada, was on the turnbuckles, like in a seated position. This is the same thing we see Okada do to other people, and usually they get drop kicked and then fall off the apron to the outside. But he fell in a way to where his left leg got caught in the other rope, so he was in a upside down. And for a while, I was thinking that maybe this was part of the story and intentional, but they never capitalized on it. So there's a part of me that's wondering, did he actually just get caught and couldn't get himself out? I don't know. I've been in a Hangman Spot. It actually isn't that easy to detach yourself, once you put yourself into it.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he was stuck there for a second because, there was no follow-up. Cobb didn't go after the knees or legs or anything like that.
Yeah, it looked nasty, and I was like, oh, are they going to, switch the body part? I don't know, but the match was really, really awesome. And then, again, it's the same thing I've said each time. All their matches this year have been good, and I actually think Okada and Cobb might even have a strong case for feud of the year, just based on the output. But in my opinion, I don't think any one of their three matches have been that blow away classic match that they seem to be capable of. Each match seems to be a component of what could be that type of match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this one felt really, really, really good. And I'm not complaining that it was 23 minutes, but because they worked a fast G1 style pace. But I did think they should flirt with the time limit draw a bit more.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I was thinking about too. Because obviously the whole big thing was with Cobb had the advantage here. All Cobb needed, if Cobb had gotten a draw, he was going through. If it no matter what happened, as long as he didn't get pinned or submitted, he was going to go through. So I definitely think, especially in the beginning of the tournament, they teased a lot of matches going to that 30-minute time limit. So I thought it would have made a ton of sense here to tease the 30 minutes. 30 seconds left, then Okada hits the Rainmaker and stops Cobb.
It's not that I wanted him to use stalling tactics or anything, but I just felt like it would have maybe added a bit to the overall drama. Plus, they could have definitely gone to another level. But I will say this: the closing sequences were classic Okada. I mean, the reversal after reversal after reversal after reversal, and then finally, boom, he hits the Rainmaker. I mean, that's classic Kazuchika Okada. That's right out of 2014, 2015 playbook,
Right.
And he hit that man with one and put him away, So, and that's another good thing because for years it took, Rainmaker after Rainmaker after Rainmaker for this guy to win matches. And, as much as we probably complained about the money clip, now they've sort of, reinvigorated his classic finisher, and it's kind of, powerful again. So, really great match. I think they got more. Again, I'll just say I think they've got in them a better match than this. But I love when these two guys wrestle, and we move on. Okada against Ibushi in the finals.
Yeah. And one thing too on the whole Rainmaker money clip thing, I like the kind of thing that Kevin Kelly was doing to explain Okada and his mindset and kind of being Okada was so far ahead of everybody else that he pretty much purposely handicapped himself by doing this money clip because he was so far ahead. And now that everybody's finally starting to catch up to him, he has to go back to the Rainmaker.
Yeah, I think that's also part of it too. Out of necessity, he tried this other thing and it didn't work out, and now he's having to return. But it might just be to me, I think it might have been a little bit of a clever way to get people to accept the idea of the Rainmaker working again.
Yeah.
Similar to what they did with Brock that time when he was dropping everybody with one F5 for a year.
Well, now we move on to the G1 Climax 31 finals night, which was Thursday, October 21st. Show opened up. We had Suzuki-gun of El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeating Fujita and Oiwa. Then we had Toru Yano and Yuji Nagata defeating the United Empire team of Great Ocon and Jeff Cobb. So here we're starting to get the build for Yano and Ocon. They've kind of had a little rivalry going this year, and obviously Ocon got his revenge back on Yano in the tournament. Yano getting some revenge here by getting a schoolboy and an Ocon, and Ocon wanted Yano to kiss his feet, and obviously we'll talk about where that's leading as we get to Power Struggle.
I'll tell you one thing. Jeff Cobb should have beat Yuji Nagata here.
Yes.
Like, I get it. You're building to Yano and Ocon, and you want to put some spotlight on that, but you can do that in the match. You can do that post-match. You didn't need to have Yano rolling up Great Ocon, whereas Cobb just came off a big loss. Old man Nagata should have been eating a tour of the islands, period.
Right. There are 9 nights to build Ocon and Yano. They did not need Yano to get the win here. I think for Ocon, man, sometimes it's one step forward, like 3 steps backwards. Like, he had really, those 3 great main events with Shingo, Ibushi, and Ishii. And then, you throw him out here with this kind of comedy stuff with Yano. It's like it's taking the man backwards.
Yeah, the other thing too is, like, maybe you have to do something like this on the big show because so many fewer people are going to actually watch those Road 2 shows. So, they do try to do the big stories, quote unquote, on the big shows, especially when it's a G1 final and everything is kind of leading to the next tour. But, I just felt like, man, I understand. Like, Cobb just had such a great tournament. Like, he should have been beating Nagata here, period.
Right. So the next matchup, we had the House of Torture Bullet Club unit, Evil, Show, and Yujiro. They defeated the current never openweight 6-man tag team champions, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Yoshihashi. So obviously this is setting up for a title challenge for these guys here. Then we had another Bullet Club unit with Chase Owens, Kenta, and Girls of Destiny.
You're just going to move on? There is much more to this than just that, sir. So clearly, the Chaos team that lost here are the reigning never openweight 6-man tag team champions. Post-match, Evil, Show, and Yujiro, after quite a bit of shenanigans, beat these guys down, used all the tricks in the book, held the titles above their head. The House of Torture wants another title shot, and I'm thinking there's a very good chance that we're going to be seeing them belt up Evil, Show, and Tokyo Pimp.
Yeah, especially since, Chaos, they've been the champs, well over a year now, several defenses. It's definitely probably, quote unquote, time for a title switch, and they want to push House of Torture. So, if they're going to give them something, might as well give them that.
Keep in mind, too, the last time anyone else held these titles, Evil was on that team holding these belts. He's the reason that they had to vacate him when he defected for Bullet Club. And, he at the time had said he didn't want those belts. But,
right. Which Ishii has brought back up to light in the backstage comments. Like, hey, you said you didn't want this belt. And it's because you're a failure. And that's why you didn't want it.
But that's absolutely true. Do they have House of Torture shirts? Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So here's what's happening. I don't talk about it a lot on the show, but I'm a big Michigan fan. They're undefeated. Saturday, playing Michigan State, Paul Bunyan Trophy, Big Ten rivalry, interstate rivalry. It's a big game. And we're both undefeated this year, number 8 versus number 6. And I've got a brother from Michigan who is a Michigan State fan. And we literally only came into contact, started building a relationship this year at the funeral of my other brother. So through the course of that, we met, and then he learned that me and my sister are Michigan fans. He's a Michigan State fan, and that shit don't fly. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all had smoke.
So yeah, we got smoke, and he doesn't want any of that smoke. So Saturday, noontime, I think in Lansing, yeah, they're gonna be playing, and we have a wager. The way it's gonna go, if Michigan win, basically whoever loses has to go out and either buy a shirt or a jersey of the other team and wear that and post it online and keep it as their profile picture for at least a week, and also add a frame from that school's team as well, and post it to their story once a day for that entire week.
Man, high stakes here.
High stakes. So I'm wondering, there's nothing that I'd ever want less in this world than to wear a House of Torture shirt. because I feel like if people ever saw me wearing that shirt, they think it's some sort of weird sex dungeon sort of thing.
Might be good to wear to the castle.
Yeah, I could wear it to the castle in Ybor. It's like the one place to be like accepted. I'm wondering if at some point you and I need to have some sort of wager where the loser has to purchase and wear a House of Torture shirt, because I feel like that would be the worst case scenario for either one of us.
Yeah, maybe we could do like, Wrestle Kingdom predictions or something like that. Whoever has the worst predictions.
I feel like we need to work something out. I feel like maybe other people might want to get in on this House of Torture, wager.
Yeah, let's get Samsa in on it. Let's get Karen in on it.
I don't know, but we got to figure something out, because someone needs to wear this shitty shirt, Let's move on. Fourth match of the night.
Yep. So with the other Bullet Club unit of Chase, Kenta, and God with Jado, they defeat Great Bash Heel, Togi Makabe, Tomioka Hanma, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Tiger Mask. And I thought it was hilarious that Togi Makabe, who's been off for quite some time, came out with his all taped up like he had been through the G1.
Bro, literally, that was my thought. I was like, why is this man taped up? This man's got tape all over his, abdomen. Like someone threw him into a barricade the night before, and he just, this man hasn't wrestled in months.
I know. This man's been doing commentary. So the big thing here, Kenta, after the match, knocks down Tanahashi with the belt, steals the U.S. title belt, and pretty much proclaims himself the next challenger, jumping ahead of Chase Owens here.
Yeah. At the end, the interesting thing was just kind of like the face-off with Tanahashi and both Chase Owens as well as Kenta.
Yeah. So obviously they're kind of leaving the door open there for a future Chase Owens matchup. He did get the big win there, but the IWGP committee decided to give Kenta the first shot.
Yeah, they pretty much, were already, before it was confirmed, it was pretty clear from the interaction, the post-match, that it was going to be Kenta and Tanahashi. But that was only after Kenta had sort of interrupted the jaw-jacking going on between Chase Owens and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Chase had said something to the lines of like, but I beat him too. And Kenta's like, I don't care. So it seems like he's, Chase Owens is going to have to put his aspirations on the back burner for the big star Kenta, while we work out this red belt mess,
Yeah, maybe Chase can get a big shot at the World Tag League final night.
Also, why wasn't Tama Tonga picking up the win in this match?
Right, exactly.
Like, again, because I think the actual winner of this match was Chase Owens, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he did a package pile driver to Hanma, which, by the way, was scary as fuck. Like, Hanma's, it just, considering, like, Hanma's history, but, like, when he got him up for that package pile driver, like, his body's so stiff, I was like, he's not even, like, he's literally, like, squeezing into the position, and then, like, his head did, like, touch the mat a little bit. I was like, oh, my God. Like, I don't think he can tuck his chin in this position.
Right.
Which is cool, I'm not saying Chase doesn't deserve to win matches, but, if I'm building up a guy to potentially challenge for the briefcase, he's going to win all his matches from here on out. And yes, he was on the winning side, but, like, why wasn't Tama Tonga hitting a stun gun on somebody? This doesn't make fucking sense.
Right. He should have been picking up a lot of momentum going into this, briefcase challenge. I mean, it's pretty much already... We all know Okada's going to win regardless, but at least give us some...
It's just good booking.
Right, it's good booking. Give the challenger some credibility. Give a shot in our mind that maybe he could actually, do something here.
Listen, I get it. Tama Tonga had a great G1. He really surprised a lot of people. That's all well and good. He picked up a career best win over Okada. But it doesn't stop there. He needs to look good in all the matches between now and that challenge. He needs to be picking up wins and being the winning party in all those matches between now and then. So this has seemed very strange to me.
Yeah.
It's not like their normal motive,
Right.
Motif.
So then moving on, the next matchup, the big surprise of the night.
And what was great about this was nobody seemed to know what was going on. Commentary teams like, well, next up we've got, LIJ teaming up to take on, 8-man tag team action, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr.'s music hits. He's come down. He's wearing the all white jacket. He's wearing like white like MMA type shorts. And you're like, oh, what's Sabre coming out? Maybe he's gonna cut a promo. There's gonna be some kind of angle here. He walks out, and then also you hear da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Shibata's music hits. The crowd forgets they're not supposed to make noise. They gasp. They're going crazy. Out comes Shibata. He's wearing gear also. And, the ring announcers announce, a 5-minute UWF rules exhibition match between Zack Sabre Jr. and Kazuchika Shibata.
Yeah, this even, now I was spoiled on this by the time I got around to actually watching it. And we'll talk about there were things that occurred on the show that made me not feel necessarily that I needed to go out of my way to catch the show in the immediate fashion that I normally would for a G1 final. But it actually took me like a day or two before I even knew that this happened. Like, I saw a picture, I saw like a meme, and it was like, guys only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting. And then below it says the thing guys want, and it's like a picture of like Shibata and Zack, and they're in some sort of like octopus hold, like towards the tail end. But I didn't know who was in it, and I was like, who is this? And people had to be like, Shibata and Zack, and I was like, is this from like the match they had when Zack entered the company? And then I had to find out like, oh no, Shibata wrestled the other night. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Bro, I woke up and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to throw it on G1. And, I'll watch the final live. And I start New Japan World, and Sabre and Shibata are grappling. I was like, what the heck? I'm like, Shibata is wrestling? What is happening right now? Oh, man.
Yeah. Say what you will about, the many different like issues that might be ongoing in the company. One thing that we've complained about in years past, especially past couple of years, are the lack of surprises and big moments on these G1 final nights, where you used to have stuff that was shocking and surprising, big matches that meant something. And maybe this isn't quite all those things, but in a certain sense, it was better because it was emotional, and it came from out of nowhere. And it was like, what are we getting here? We're getting Shibata and Zack Sabre. And like, I know a lot of people wanted Zack to win this, to be in the finals on this night. But again, we went over that last week and discussed just how strongly they presented him. But again, wow, what an incredible way to present this guy, than having him be the first opponent for whatever this return of Shibata is or isn't, whatever it may end up being. The fact that they chose him and selected him to be that guy, that puts a lot of eyes on Zack Sabre, a lot of eyes on the promotion. It's an exciting thing. It's something that people have been wanting and waiting for. And, it also kind of makes a lot of sense why Zack has been talking so much shit against Shibata and everything like that, like all year long, basically.
Right.
And we've even complained, been like, why are they doing this if these guys can't even wrestle,
Right. We've even seen guys like who are feuding with the LA Dojo, like Ospreay and them, or like mentioning Shibata and, trying to start a feud pretty much with Shibata. And so, yeah, this was just very interesting. With what we know, like, this was pretty much kept a surprise from everybody. Like, it was like Gato, Shibata, Sabre, and the ring announcers knew. Nobody else knew. So it was genuine a surprise from Kevin Kelly and Charlotte and everybody else. And,
even the boys.
Yeah, none of the guys knew. Shibata, he's been lobbying for a ring return for a long time now. When he first came back, that first appearance, he said, I'm still alive, and took a bump in the middle of the ring. And since then, he's been training at the LA Dojo and training these guys, and for years now, been lobbying for a return. And obviously, he has to get cleared by doctors, but it seems, we've seen with guys like Bryan Danielson and Edge, these guys who have brain injuries or neck injuries, who take several years off, they're able to come back and get cleared, and this could be a similar situation here for Shibata. And I think this grappling match here was the first step in the right direction.
Well, that may or may not be. I've historically been on the side that was extremely skeptical of the prospect of a return for Kazuchika Shibata, and I felt as though when we saw him get involved physically with Kenta a couple years ago after the G1, and how that whole story unfolded between Kenta, and it ended up basically being Goto as a proxy for Shibata. That was a big indication to me that he most likely was not cleared. And, while he did look fantastic in the ring, I pointed out to our listeners at the time just how serious the type of brain injury was that he suffered in that match with Okada. Now we're years on later, and they've continued to periodically tease him with people making comments. And it started to kind of sway me in the direction of thinking like, well, they wouldn't keep doing that if they weren't on some level hopeful that he might be returning. And maybe this is the first key or indication that that's the case. I will say, though, that the rules of this match tend to maybe serve as a buffer just in case that's not the case. Like, he might not be cleared. I mean, they didn't strike. They didn't, not that either of these two guys' matches are really filled with this stuff, but, they didn't do a lot of, like, rope running. They didn't come off the turnbuckle. They didn't brawl on the outside. They didn't use weapons. None of that stuff. It was as it was billed, an exhibition match. And it was classic technical wrestling, which is fine, but it's also safer, And so there's a part of me that's wondering, like, did they do that because he can't be cleared, but they wanted to throw both of these guys a bone, and it's a one-off? And, it helps the company, too, because now everyone's excited, but they haven't promised more than they delivered. In fact, they over-delivered just by doing it in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
But there's another part of me that is like everyone else and is hoping that this is the first sign of things to come. And if that's the case, and he is cleared, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, from my understanding, I don't think he's officially cleared yet, but they're hopeful, and there's signs that he could be cleared. And post-match, after the match, obviously it was a 5-minute draw. After the match, he says, "The next time that you see me, I'll be in my wrestling gear." So clearly he's dead set on making a return, having this comeback. So it makes it sound like him being cleared is maybe sooner than we think.
That's true. And again, I don't want to throw water on the fire, but he's said things like this in the past, which just shows that he's always intended to come back. And I think we've always known that on some level. It's not like it's been a secret. The real question is, can he get the clearance? Would it be safe? And if he did come back, what would we be getting? Now, if this was any indication, he seemed to be every bit as good as he ever was. I know it wasn't necessarily like the hard-hitting, violent style of Shibata that we've come to know, but in terms of intensity and purposeful, ring work, it was just beautiful. And I mean, it was kind of really emotional in a certain sense. But I gotta imagine that if he were to come back, he's not coming back as like an altered version of Shibata. He's probably coming back whole hog, like fucking knees, elbows, the one-legged drop kick, the corner drop kick, all that shit.
Sleeper, PK kick, all that, yeah.
Everything, yeah.
Yes.
Headbutts probably too. I bet he would do headbutts too.
Yeah.
Maybe if he was smart, he would alter them for safety's purpose and he doesn't split his dome open to get that line of blood that he's used to getting. But yes.
Yeah, you got to wonder too, like, what has he been doing in the LA dojo? Like, has he already been taking bumps? Has he been, wrestling with those guys, Fredericks and Connors and Coughlin? Has he been doing little mini matches with those guys? We don't know. He could be doing this whole time.
I'm positive that he's on some level wrestling in the gym. Most trainers do, but there's wrestling and then there's wrestling. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, getting in there and taking some bumps and doing some sequences and some spots is not quite the same thing as wrestling. Right. if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't, but
I definitely understand, yeah.
But we had some questions here. Kyle Martin said, "One of my favorite segments you guys have ever done was Josh's career retrospective on Shibata, I believe. I don't remember it."
We did. It was during the pandemic when we were doing the voting series, and we it was me, you, and Imp. We did a Shibata episode.
Okay, because he said this was the week after Kenta attacked Katsuyori. So I don't know. I don't remember doing one, but that's fine. With that being said, I wanted to know if you guys had any speculation about how New Japan should use Shibata. Is there potential for him to have Bryan Danielson levels of success? Or is it more likely that he'll be placed in an Ishii or Goto type of role for the remainder of his career?
Well, if he gets fully cleared and they could use him in regular matches, they would be fools to slot him in a Goto Ishii role. I think you go a heavy push with him. Maybe he doesn't win the belt, but he should definitely be a title challenger. He should be involved in heated programs. They're going to draw money.
If, and it's a huge if, but let's say he's cleared and he's as good as he ever was and he's able to go on that level, you put the fucking belt on Katsuyori Shibata. Period. You put the belt on this man and you do it against Kazuchika Okada.
Yes. Yeah.
And you do it in Sumo Hall in April. That's what you do. Period.
Dude, that would draw big time. Like,
I get chills thinking about it. Right now, I have, I do know that, like, there is obviously the very overwhelming contingency of people that believe that the greatest match and the greatest series of matches in the history of wrestling, especially in New Japan, are between Omega and Okada, and I'm probably amongst them. But believe it or not, there's probably just as many vocal supporters that truly, and it's not some cap shit, and most people wouldn't even begrudge him for thinking this, but most people believe from that camp that the greatest match in wrestling history and the greatest match in New Japan history is truly actually Okada versus Shibata from from Sakura Genesis.
Yeah.
What year is that?
2017.
17. God. So I mean, if you could do the match that everyone has always wanted but never knew that they were ever going to have a chance to ever get again, and you can do it in the same venue, and you do it, how many years apart is that?
Yeah, 5. Well,
5?
If they could do it next year, yeah, 5.
If you could do it 5 years apart to the day, fuck yeah.
Bro, like, we just saved Bushi Road, we've saved New Japan.
That's what you do, man. There's a lot of other things. Obviously, there's a lot of other things you could do with Shibata because he wasn't around when all these other stars have kind of popped up. I mean, when he was wrestling for the company, like, freaking Nakamura was still there or had just left or whatever. AJ Styles was still there.
Right.
Naito wasn't even that big a star yet. Like, so much has happened since 2017.
Right.
There's so many new matches and stuff.
And that plays into Rambo and Slam Pig's question. He says, if Shibata is really back and able to fully wrestle, who would be your dream match on the current NJPW roster? And what about outside the roster?
That's a great question. For you, who do you see in New Japan that you're like, okay. Okada's the dream match.
Right, Okada, like, that's the match you have to do. Like, no matter what, you have to book the Okada match, like, first thing.
And that means Okada needs to win all the gold. And everyone's going to complain if that happens, but period. Like, if he's got the gold, then you're well on your way to him and Shibata. Okay, I guess the other one that we got to throw out there, and it's been on the table since, since he came to the company, the Kenta match.
Right. Also, yeah, the whole, like you mentioned earlier, the Goto storyline and Kenta turning to join Bullet Club, and Shibata was the one that, quote unquote, brought Kenta in New Japan after he got released from WWE and brought him in and to be a part of the G1. So
there's a lot of other matches, but like for me, just based off history, based off of, what I think could draw, what would do big business, those are my top 2 matches in New Japan for me anyways.
Yeah. And then also just from a completely just dream match, I'm thinking about business and I'm just thinking like match quality. Also Shingo Takagi, like a match between those two would be credible. You have Will Ospreay. That would be a great matchup.
And him and Will have actually wrestled before, but this is not Junior Will.
Right.
This is not Babyface Will. It's a different animal.
Right. So that would be great. Obviously, you could run back him and Ishii.
Of course, him and Saber. So there's a lot that's out there. Tanahashi's still viable.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. But let's just pick one guy outside of New Japan. Who's someone you'd like to see Shibata wrestle?
I think it has to be Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to be that guy, but that's the same thing that I think I have to say at this point. Because, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the guy stylistically and star potential-wise, that makes most sense to me.
Yeah, that'd be awesome matchup.
I don't know. I'm doing a quick, Google, oh, okay, 5 days ago, Wrestle Talk, 11 dream matches for Katsuyori Shibata. So, there are people out there that are already, making these lists. How about we throw a little bit of light on them? Why not, So they got a list here, 11 people. I'll just read the names real quick. So they've got honorable mention, Jon Moxley. At number 11, they got Jonathan Gresham. Number 10, Minoru Suzuki. You know what? They fucked up because I got to go page by page. I'm not doing all that.
Man, they're trying to get your views, man.
Yeah, I like it when it's all
one straight list.
Right, because when it's all on one page, you can read it all. But this thing, they got me scrolling. Okay, most of these names, honestly, I'm looking at it. It's almost all exclusively New Japan guys. But the top two guys that they have listed are Danielson and Kenta, essentially. So I think for most people, it's still going to be Danielson.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Wrestle Talk. You guys, your format sucks. So.
Next question here from our user Less Commission 7252. If Shibata could wrestle Wrestle Kingdom early next year, should his first match back be against Kenta? If not, then who?
I'm sorry. I'm looking at this list on Sportskeeda, and it's all WWE people they want.
The big dog, Roman Reigns.
They have Roman Reigns on. They got number 1, Intercontinental WWE Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. Number 2, Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar, which, you know what? If that could actually happen.
That would be fire. That
would be, for me, very high. They got Kyle O'Reilly.
That would be good, yeah.
Roman Reigns, and then at number 5, they've got WWE Hall of Famer Edge. It's not the best list I've ever seen, but
oh man,
let's move on.
Yeah, so Let's Commission asks, who should Shibata face at Wrestle Kingdom if he could be cleared and wrestle for that? Should it be against Kenta?
Period. Kenta. That's the match you do. It writes itself. It's easy.
Right. There's literally not much you have to do to set it up. Comes out I'm cleared, I'm challenging Kenta, and then you run from there.
Now he said, if not him, then who? And I mean, honestly, I don't even know. You do Kenta. If you don't do Kenta, then something's going wrong.
Right. I mean, clearly Okada's going to be wrapped up in the title picture. And like you said, I think it's more poetic to do that at Sakura Genesis.
I guess you could do Saber. If you're really, 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 really needing to, you could do Saber there. But and again, there are so many matches that are on the table, but for that big spot and for him just returning, it needs to be something that is memorable, emotional, have significance and meaning. Those have got to be the top 2 guys. Unless somehow you got Bryan Danielson into the country, that's what you do.
Yeah, I would say another maybe not off, but another potential pick you can do is Will Ospreay with the current LA Dojo United Empire feud that's happening right now on Strong. I
guess it all just depends on what they end up doing with those belts.
Right, and there are 3 nights, so.
Viking Pain asks, so Shibata is going to clearly win the G1 next year and be crowned world champion, right? Just kidding. But do you guys think Shibata doing UWF rules matches going forward is a good thing, or would you prefer for them to not tease you about a real Shibata return if it's not really going to happen? I'll say this. I'm fine with it either way, because at this point, there's been no indication that he will simply exist in the world of exhibitions, you know?
Right.
And they never said that he was planned to, you know, okay, let me put it to you this way. When he was getting physically involved in other like segments and storylines, that was something I didn't like, because to me that's akin to basically like a tease. You know, you're telling me that he's able to physically do these things, but you're not going to give it to us. And you're also building investment into the actual stories themselves, and you can't even give us a payoff for it. That's something I didn't like. But this was, there was no story, there was no anything. It just was something they gave us, and there hasn't been a follow-up to it since then, aside from him just, you know, saying those few words about him being in gear down the road. So if this is just a one-off, I'm fine with it. If they simply allow him to compete in exhibitions down the road, there is precedent for that. We've seen times where guys like Satoru Sayama and Antonio Inoki and different people like that competed in exhibitions in New Japan Pro Wrestling when they weren't, you know, able to keep competing on that same level with other people. So if it was periodic and big show, you know, I'm talking very periodic, sporadic, I'm fine with that too. Getting to see him in a nostalgia element, you know, showcasing his skills. But you know, I don't know if we're gonna get him in all these scenarios going forward. It really just depends. I think that they're doing this. My gut tells me they're doing this because they expect that he will get cleared on some level at some point.
Right. I feel like they're to me, it's probably like 90%. Like, I feel like they're so confident, like they're kind of heading the right path. Maybe the tests are looking good, and they feel like the clearance could come, you know, any minute now. But I totally agree with you. I do think, you know, if it turns out he's not cleared, but they still want to use him and do these UWF rules, like you said, periodically, you do it a G1 final, a Wrestle Kingdom, a Dominion, you know, you bring him out for kind of a big kind of thing, a big show. I think that would be a cool thing to do, and to bring him, use his star power, like you said, add nostalgia. But hopefully, you know, he is going to get cleared, and we're going to see him in some regular rules matches.
And I know there's some fans that like the moment they see a guy like this go out there and compete, they're like, I don't get it. Why can't he do X, Y, Z? Well, maybe like he can't. And I feel like at least the Japanese audience, who might have a little bit more patience with that sort of thing, and most of us fans should have a little bit more patience, understand the kind of trauma that this guy went through on a physical level, that if this is all he can do, so what? You know?
Right.
Like, at least it's something, and at least he's getting to fulfill his dream and showcase his skills and his passion, and we still get to see it. I mean, it's not maybe wrestling the way that you got, you know, that the average fan likes to consume it, but it's still wrestling, and it's still a spectacle, and still, you know, he's still a big name, and he can still do business. I bet you he still draws, you know?
Yeah. And looking at the ratings and receptions, like, I've seen a ton of people going 4.25, 4.5. Like, this match
on that 5-minute match.
Yeah. Yeah, people love this thing. So
people, yeah, anything that's emotional like that one Brody memorial show, which while it was great, I'm not besmirching it, but like it got like some of the highest like show review or like, you know, grades that you'll ever see for a show. Same thing with like the Eddie Guerrero memorial. Sometimes those shows aren't even really that good, but it's just because of what they represent from a emotional standpoint. And I feel like that's what this match was like for some people.
Yeah.
Dom Homie 101 asked us, with the return of Shibata, I don't know, this doesn't make sense. With the return of Shibata, is it that we see Shibata lead an LA Dojo based faction? Or or does he pull up on Ospreay to put hands, feet, legs, and elbows on his ass for disrespecting the LA Dojo? Did you copy and paste this?
Yeah.
Grammar people, I'm trying to read this. And I'm fixing it for you, but I was like, what the fuck? What does this say? So yeah, do you think that he's gonna, you know, lead a dojo, or do you think he's just gonna run it with Ospreay on site, as they say?
I mean, I feel like he's already kind of technically the leader of the LA Dojo. He's the main head trainer. They all kind of respect him, and anybody that feuds with those guys, they all tend to disrespect him. And so I don't think it's gonna be like a faction thing where he's like the quote unquote leader and he's like doing promos with all of them behind him or anything like that. I think there's
everybody knows Goto's the leader of the LA Dojo.
Maybe he should have gone back to the dojo before this G1. But yeah, I definitely think they could do something with Ospreay. Obviously, there's a ton of people who disrespected LA Dojo. You have Team Filthy. So there's a ton of stuff they could do with that, and having the LA Dojo guys maybe try to stand up for him, and finally he's the one that has to kind of end the feud. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, we'll see. So that's going to do that for that portion. We'll move on to the sixth match of the night, the semi-main event. We had the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Sonata, and Shingo Takagi. They defeated the Noge Dojo. Noge Dojo. The what's wrong with me? What would this unit be called?
Hantai.
Yeah, I forget stuff like that. The Hantai group of Tenkoji, Master Wato, and Rizuki Taguchi. 8-man tag action, 12 minutes and 17 seconds.
So yeah, LIJ gets the win there. Not really much storyline elements with that matchup. I think
Shingo won with the pumping bomber instead of Last of the Dragon or Made in Japan, which was, fine.
Yeah.
Post-match, we got a lot of posing with them. They're a unified unit, even though Naito's bum knees are keeping them out. And then that brings us to the G1 Climax 2021 final match as the A Block representative Kota Ibushi was defeated by the B Block finalist Kazuchika Okada by referee decision, 25 minutes, 37 seconds.
Man, heartbreaking. Just absolutely heartbreaking with this match. And I feel bad for poor Kota Ibushi, man. Like, 2021 has been a rough year for him from the get-go. I mean, initially he wins the double titles, but then, in kayfabe, he's lobbying for the titles to be merged, the titles get unified, and, fans are blaming Ibushi for the unification of the titles. He has that title offense against Desperado that nobody cared about because it was supposed to be Hiromu. Then he gets aspiration pneumonia and has to miss several months and misses the match with Shingo. Now he has his G1 and it's not that great of a G1. And then he finally gets to his fourth finals. Fans are pissed that it's his fourth finals, and then he just completely eats it here on a Phoenix Splash and dislocates his shoulder.
Yeah, and there was a similar injury that occurred during one of the, I believe it was Best of Super Junior tournaments, but I can't recall exactly. But Ibushi had years ago done, I believe it was a Phoenix Splash as well, and injured one, if not maybe the same arm. So it's not that this has never happened, but I was thinking about this. Ibushi still high flies, still does some crazy things, but ever since going to heavyweight, ever since putting on the muscle mass and kind of changing style up a bit, not unlike Will Ospreay, we haven't seen as many of these high-risk maneuvers, especially like the Phoenix Splash is something that he only pulls out in the biggest of matches, and it didn't pay off in this one, unfortunately, which was also unfortunate, not just because of his own health and well-being, but because the match itself was starting to get, the match itself was very good and was starting to get to that next level where there was really starting to pick things up. And then it just ended very anticlimactically. Was watching this with my girlfriend. She actually commented and said it reminded her of the Conor McGregor finish when his leg broke. And I was like, yeah, it does kind of leave you with a bad feeling in your stomach when you're watching it like that. It's kind of the same thing too. Or like when Anderson Silva broke his leg, or like when Chris Weidman broke his leg, unfortunate injuries that you don't ever really want to see happen that, kind of decide the finish of the match.
Right, and you can just tell, like, as soon as he landed from that Phoenix Splash, like, he just ate it, and it was just not a great landing whatsoever. And yeah, so immediately started clutching his wrist, clutching his shoulder, and doctors had to come in and stop the match. Like you mentioned, like, up to that point, like, it was a very good approaching, great matchup, and so many great counters and spots, and Ibushi hit a beautiful Asai moonsault earlier, but there's just so many just great counters, and it was building to be like a a very great G1 final matchup. And
yeah, it's one of those things. You kind of wonder why this sort of injury doesn't happen more often. And I don't mean specifically this exact thing, but not to say wrestlers don't get injured. We hear about injuries all the time, but very often they're not, you know, as serious as maybe they could have been, or you see a lot of times where guys fall in ways or take maneuvers in ways where you imagine that they should be hurt and they're not. So it is almost a wonder why this sort of thing doesn't happen more often, given how much wrestling is out there, as far as scale goes. So I've always kind of wondered if something like this might happen. And we've seen injuries in the G1. We've seen people have to take time off, forfeit matches. Obviously, Naito's even out in this exact same G1. But this was just heartbreaking. And, I didn't see this happen, but you heard the commentary team stating that he was like telling the attendants to get off of him and to help him basically pop his shoulder back into place and let him finish the match. And Red Shoes called the whole thing off. So, it was a little bit deflating just the way that it ended there. But, we'll have an update on Kota Ibushi here later in the show. But the good news is it's not an arm break. So,
right, and it just, like you mentioned, it just totally like killed the mood. Like Okada's supposed to be celebrating. You got confetti, you got the big G1 trophy and the flag, and you're supposed to be having this big celebration. But like you're worried about Ibushi, and the match was ruined, and it just really kind of killed the whole mood of the closing of the show.
Yeah, and I think Okada was going to win the match anyways. Even just the booking of the match, they were clearly telling a story not dissimilar to the previous night's match where Okada was looking to land the Rainmaker and Ibushi was avoiding it at all costs and actually countering it very many, many times. So it just seemed like a matter of time before he ate that Rainmaker and, went to sleep. Viking Pain asked, is this year really just an anomaly with freakish injuries to New Japan stars, or did Gato break a mirror, walked under a ladder, and crossed a black cat all on Friday the 13th for the company to get this cursed? And, there was something I was sort of thinking about all of this was, actually, I forgot my thought. I'll throw it to you. You go ahead and answer that.
I'm just going to say that, the curse happened when he put the belt on Evil. Like,
yeah, never mind COVID. It's all Evil's fault.
Exactly. You put the belt on Evil, and things just ain't ever been right since.
I know what I was going to say. Hear me out. I don't want anyone to think that I am putting the sole blame on someone like Gato, but there is a part of me that has to wonder, was Ibushi ready to even be in this match in the first place, coming off of aspiration pneumonia? Now, granted, I do understand that, just based off of, what logic would tell you, he wrestled a big main event just before the G1 and looked pretty good all throughout the G1. I'm sure, hopefully, someone was checking in with him to see how he was doing and things like that. But there's a part of me that, and I'm not saying he couldn't, that it was malpractice to have him in the finals. It's not like he wasn't cleared. It's not like he couldn't go. But there is a part of me that's wondering, it's like, okay, this guy has had so many setbacks this year with, injuries and sicknesses. And then, you put him through this grueling G1. I understand they kept his match time relatively short, but is that maybe the wisest decision as opposed to other? Now, we talked about for business reasons why this was a big money match last week, and that is still valid. But there's a part of me that wonders, like, why not go with maybe, say, Zack Sabre or Kenta, just because they haven't had to deal with the health issues that Ibushi's had to deal with lately. Maybe that was the prudent decision,
Right.
I'm not saying it's his fault or that this was bound to happen or the writing was on the wall, but, maybe that wasn't the best decision, just think about it for a second. I mean, I I don't know. That's like a thought that popped in my head. I don't know.
Right, and obviously, like you mentioned, he was definitely cleared. But yeah, was he even like mentally ready for this? Like we don't even know. Like not even just physically. Was he even in the right mindset for a tournament like this, a spot like this, coming off of all that stuff? I guess we'll truly never know. But I mean, what's done is done, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And we'll have an update on him here in a second.
Viking Pain asked, what is your favorite G1 match this year? What wasn't? Who was your MVP? Who was a dud? And which returning or debuting guy impressed you the most? Who didn't? So that's going to open things up quite a bit. Jeremy, I'm going to leave that mostly to you.
All right. So overall, my favorite match of the year was the night one main event between Tomohiro Ishii and Shingo Takagi. Those guys are just excellent dance partners for each other, and just had an amazing matchup.
Least favorite G1 match this year?
Oh, man. Any match at Yano.
That's valid. Who is your MVP for this year's G1?
For me, overall MVP, I would go with Shingo Takagi. If you just look at the A block and you look at his match output and match quality, like he had bangers with everybody. He had a banger with Ishii, Saber, Great Ocon, Ibushi. Like majority of Shingo's matches were in that 4-star to 4.5-star ranges match. Killed it every night. I would give it to Shingo.
Okay. Real quick, I'm guessing second place probably Zack Sabre. Why did you pick him over Zack? Because I know a lot of people kind of had him pegged as the MVP.
Yeah, I would say Zack, more kayfabe wise, could be the argument for the MVP, just because he did tap out Naito, Ibushi, and Shingo. He did have great matches, but when you look overall match quality, I felt like Shingo still had the overall better matches than Sabre did.
Who was the biggest dud in this year's tournament? I'm guessing that's going to be like, usually a dud means you expected something from them and they didn't deliver. Is it Naito?
Well, I mean, that's unfair. Man broke his leg out of his leg. I would probably maybe Sonata. The guy was literally, he was in the G1 finals last year and finished with like 8 points this year. Horrible like match quality for a guy his level. His match were in that mid 3.5 range.
Okay. Now he asked which returning or debuting guy impressed you the most. I mean, that's a lot. So let's just talk about guys that debuted. He means returning. So I think what it means is, see, that was confusing me because I'm like, most of these guys are returning. I think he means people that were out for some time and then
got like Tama Tonga.
So of people that, like, let's just say weren't in the G1 last year and either returned to the G1 field or debuted this year, who impressed you the most from that field? And then finally, who did not, who got in this year that did not impress you?
So, like I mentioned, Tama Tonga is definitely one name I come to mind, initially when I saw his name, and I was like, man, we're going to strap in. It's going to be 2018 G1. He's going to be talking. He's going to be doing shenanigans like the rest of Bullet Club. But this guy was a red-hot, fiery babyface, taking the shirt off, hitting superior flows, gun stuns out of nowhere, J-drillers. This guy had a really good tournament. His brother, Tangaloa, was also pretty impressive as well. Chase Owens worked really hard. I wouldn't mind seeing if they had to put Chase in again. He worked really hard, had some good matches. Great Ocon. I thought Great Ocon did extremely well for his first G1, and especially those string of main events that he had back to back with Shingo, Ishii, and Ibushi. Those matches proved to me that Great Ocon can wrestle a New Japan main event style and can be called upon to be in a big New Japan main event. As far as guys who didn't impress me that were in, Yano. I get Yano as the whole, I guess Yano's been in every G1, but he's just a guy.
No, it's got to be someone that either returned that wasn't in the field or debuted?
Let's see. Who else could I talk about?
So you're talking about like Chase Owens, you're talking about Tama Tonga, you're talking about Ocon, you're talking about Tingaloa.
Yeah, I feel like most of those guys impressed and did well.
Okay, then we can move on. NJPW has.
Before we get to that, I did want to give out my the top 10 matches of the tournament.
Okay, I didn't know where you wanted to do that. Do you want to do letter grades for the competitors as well, or no?
I mean, we could do that, but that'd probably be mainly me since you didn't see everything. But
yeah, we can go through that real quick. I think people like to hear that stuff.
Okay, so first I'll do top 10 matches. So at number 10, I have the G1 Finals, Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi. I went 4 1/4 on that match. It was 25 minutes, and it was really good until the Phoenix Splash.
I would concur.
At number 9, I got Kazuchika Okada versus Jeff Cobb, the B Block Final. I went 4 1/2, like we mentioned earlier. At number 8, I have Great Ocon versus Shingo Takagi. Also went 4 1/2 on that. On number 7, I have Kenta versus Zack Sabre Jr. Went 4 1/2 on that. Also have this one labeled for a strong style fight of the year candidate because these guys are just slapping the crap out of each other in this matchup. It was awesome.
Great.
Number 6, a non-tournament match I have here in my top 10. Hiromu Takahashi versus Tomohiro Ishii. Went 4 1/2 on this. Just as
I didn't know we could do that. You're playing fast and loose with these rules here, but I'll allow it.
It was the best matchup on that night. At number 5, I have Sonata versus Kazuchika Okada. Also went 4 1/2 on that. At number 4, I have Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Went 4 1/2. That was from night 2 main event. Then number 3, Kota Ibushi versus Shingo Takagi. Went 4 1/2 on that. Number 2, Tomohiro Ishii versus Zack Sabre Jr. 4 1/2 on that as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, my favorite match and my number 1 match was Tomohiro Ishii versus Shingo Takagi, which was the night 1 A block main event, 4 3/4. I was a coward, did not go the full 5 on it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's going to be our top 10. If you guys, are listening now, you maybe missed any of those or didn't, watch the tournament, you want to kind of cherry pick. That's, I would say Jeremy is an accurate star rater. Okay. And his opinions hold a lot of water when it comes to, New Japan fandom. And I would just say you better listen because if you think this is a game, like ratings, takes, and opinions, they're not a game with us.
They're not. We take our ratings, takes, and opinions very seriously.
Very seriously. So I'm going to go ahead and list off the 20 competitors. We don't need to have a retrospective on these. You could just go ahead and give us a grade on each one of them. So we're going to start off with the A block. Let's go with Tetsuya Naito.
I mean, I don't know how do you grade just one match? That's like in school where like you didn't finish the class, you got incomplete.
We're judging the G1 as a whole. What's this man's letter grade?
F.
All right, Yujiro Takahashi.
D.
So that sounds like maybe you shouldn't come back.
Yeah.
After that, Tingaloa, 6 points.
I go C+.
Okay. The Great Ocon, 8 points.
I go B+.
That's pretty good. Tomohiro Ishii, 10 points.
B+.
It's a little high. I was in another show. They said B- based off who he was and the output. I don't know.
I mean, I expect A+ output. So for me, this is a drop.
Toru Yano with 10 points, which is egregious.
D-.
How come Yano had to get 10 points? Ishii couldn't go into the 12 mark. Zack Sabre Jr., 12 points.
I give him an A.
All right. Kenta with 12 points.
I would go C+.
All right. The champion, Shingo Takagi with 13 points.
I would go A for Shingo.
All right. And then finally, Golden Star Kota Ibushi, 14 points.
I'll give him a flat B.
All right. So then in the B block, we got Chase Owens with 4 points, bottom of the block.
I go C+.
Okay. Tai Chi, 6 points.
I would go B+.
Wow. So that's a guy that really impressed in this year's tournament. Tama Tonga, 6 points.
I would go flat B for Tama Tonga.
Wow, that's huge. Yoshihashi, 6 points.
I would go a flat B for Yoshihashi as well.
That's Hiroki Goto, 6 points.
I go C.
All right, we got Sonata sitting at 8.
I'd also go a flat C for Sonata as well.
All right. Hiroshi Tanahashi, 8 points.
I'll go B.
Okay, awesome. And then Evil, 14 points, just outside the top.
I'll give him a D.
Wow. Okay. The last two, we got Jeff Cobb sitting at 16 points.
A+.
Holy crap! And then the B block winner, Kazuchika Okada, 16 points.
Give him an A.
Okay. Now I just want to point out, you gave Jeff Cobb an A+, and Shingo an A, but you said Shingo was your MVP.
I know. I don't know. I guess I could bump Shingo up to A+ as well.
Okay. All right. This man's not consistent. All right. NJPW has provided an injury update on Kota Ibushi. In a statement released on their website, NJPW says that Ibushi suffered a right anterior dislocation of the shoulder plus joint lip damage. His estimated recovery time was listed as 2 months. Got some questions here. Dom Homie 101 said, thoughts on the Kota Ibushi injury? Is it me, or does it feel like Ibushi got injured before he did the Phoenix Splash? What does the future look like for the Golden Star when he returns? You know what? I did want to say, I noticed the same thing. Did you? You haven't rewatched this match, have you?
I haven't rewatched. No.
Okay. Because I went into the match knowing the injury was coming. I watched it with a different set of eyes. And I'd already seen the injury where he was grabbing the wrist, and it was the right arm, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. He gets drop kicked off the turnbuckle in the seated position, the way I described earlier. He's sitting, Okada does the drop kick, and he hits the apron, which we already know is the hardest part of the ring. Then he hits the outside and the barricade. And he was kind of slow to get up. And the way he got up, he was holding the wrist in like a limp prone position. There was a part of me that wondered if he like suffered a partial portion of the injury there.
Yeah, maybe maybe that's part of the reason why he landed weird, because he was trying to maybe protect his wrist when he was landing, and maybe that.
I don't know. I don't want to be conspiracy theorist, but I definitely noticed that. I wasn't going to bring it up on the show, but since Dom Homie 101 is saying something, that is something I noticed. I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but, I think it's worth notice. Viking Pain also asked, with Ibushi's injury now being reported as to be having a 2-month recovery time, do we expect to see him at Wrestle Kingdom 16? Which I do, if that's the case, but that seems like 2 months is a pretty quick turnaround for something that sounds as serious as a, dislocation. I heard that they also said that it was an anterior fracture, like a dislocation, shoulder fracture, something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, so if we go 2 months from today, that would put us at December 26th, which is obviously right in the build to Wrestle Kingdom, only a few days away. And so, yeah, I don't know if I guess it's very easy to plug him in. He can just come out and challenge somebody and set a match up, but it's going to be a very tight squeeze, a very tight turnaround. Like you mentioned earlier, was he kind of rushed into the G1? Could he be rushed again into a Wrestle Kingdom situation?
Yeah, and I mean, Ibushi's been such an important part of Wrestle Kingdom the past few, years sitting in the main event scene, and it feels like with whatever they're going to be doing with this, I'm calling it the triple gold dash.
Yep. That's what I've been calling it too.
I'm sure he would have been in play for whatever that's going to be. And so I'm expecting that they want to get him back in time to be involved with that. So who knows? I'm not a doctor, so I can't really speculate, but 2 months does sound like a short amount of time for a serious injury, but maybe it's not that serious. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess the one thing, too, they had to fall back on is Ibushi did beat Shingo in the tournament, so he has a shot. He can call on that for a shot at the title, too.
Great. Now, in a post-G1 Climax 31 press conference last week, the G1 winner, Kazuchika Okada, declared his intentions to bring back the IWGP Heavyweight Championship version 4 as a symbol of his tournament win. He's quoted as saying, "I won the G1 and I want to face Kota Ibushi again, but I feel there's should be something concrete to represent that. I'm not a champion and I don't have anything to put up. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship that Ibushi retired, though, I'm not saying that people should call me the, what is this word, 60th?
Yeah, he's just putting a number in there like the...
Oh, okay. So he's saying he shouldn't be in the lineage of IWGP heavyweight champions or anything like that, but I want to hold that belt until Ibushi gets back. And it's not, and then he did, in fact, I mean, we can jump to it.
Right.
On the road to shows, he, in lieu of bringing out a briefcase, he did bring out the IWGP version 4 belts. Not only that, but there were other comments that he made to the basically stating, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, that he doesn't care that much about Shingo's belt. This is the belt that he cares about. And then he said, in this press conference, he said, I'm not the champion. I want to hold this belt as like a physical placeholder. But then he was talking about like, well, why should I challenge Shingo? I've got this belt. He should challenge me. And that doesn't compute in my mind, but that's kind of what's going on right now. So
yeah, I mean, the one thing that I kind of like about it is the fact that he's like, well, I won the G1. Like, that should make me like the best wrestler in the world. The champion didn't win the G1. Like, I'm better than the champion. So in hindsight, it kind of reminds me, like you mentioned, like, back in the day, like G1 wasn't always for a shot at Wrestle Kingdom or a shot at the title. It was to prove like who is the best wrestler in the company at the time. So with that kind of mindset, like Okada's like, well, I'm the best. I won the whole tournament. Like, I should be rewarded in some, like, there should be something to recognize me as a champion because I'm the best in the company right now.
So I do kind of agree with that. I think it's important to put emphasis on the G1 itself, but at the same time, there's no denying that, in years past, you had one night of Wrestle Kingdom. That's your WrestleMania. Whoever wins the G1, they're headlining, and it's a big deal because they're headlining against the champion. It's the big protected match. They haven't done it in years. We're going to finally get whatever that is, big business, and it's a huge draw. But over the last couple of years, they've had these weird, convoluted, multi-man title scenarios where the G1 winner is included in that, but it's almost a secondary afterthought to the double gold dash or whatever last year, whatever you would call that. And now that we're going to 3 nights, and now that we have 3 guys walking around with what are basically equated to being the top titles, it just kind of creates a scenario where, like, you can say in one hand, yeah, the G1 winner, it means the most because he's better than the champion, but then the payoff for it is definitely diminished. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The only thing that I like so far about this versus the first 2 double gold dashes is you have 3 guys that all kind of have like legitimate claims to their championships. Like, so obviously you have Shingo Takagi. He won the vacant championship. He is a champion. You have Will Ospreay, who the title was stripped from him due to injury and not being able to defend in time. So he never actually lost. He was stripped. So he does have a claim of being like, I'm an uncrowned champion. Now you have Kazuchika Okada, who just won the whole G1, and it should be recognized as the best in the company. So you kind of have 3 guys, all with 3 claims for being the best. So unlike previous years where you have guys like Ibushi losing the contract, they're in the mix. You have Naito, who lost IC title, and he's still in the mix. So far, you have guys in the mix that all have a claim to actually being a champion.
They do, and that is true, and I think that's probably the best way of looking at it if you're trying to stay positive about the situation. So that's great. I definitely think I'm the more pessimistic of the two of us. And when I look at that, I'm like, the only reason there's so many claims is because there's been so much trouble and turmoil in the company's title scene that it's created these scenarios where people have these quote unquote claims. But like, let's face it, like, Will Ospreay won a belt that was basically seen as like a new title, didn't necessarily maybe have the same like lineage, prestige, and importance as the IWGP title had. And so that was like almost kind of weird at the time. And then he didn't even get to defend it afterwards, really after the whole Shingo thing. Like, he goes away, and it's almost like it left a big black mark on that portion of the title's existence. Then, like you said, Shingo wins the title, it's vacated, but he never beat Will Ospreay. And in fact, he had just lost to Will Ospreay in the previous match. Twice, yeah. So that's like another big black mark. And you can say what you want about how great he's been in the ring this year and, some of the strong title defenses he's had, but the fact that he never beat Will Ospreay actually kind of diminishes it's why all year people have been saying that the IWGP World title is cursed, because there have been all these kind of things going on. And then you have Okada bringing out a belt saying he's not the champion, but then acting as though he's the champion, which I guess there's some badassery to that, but it also kind of feels like when you're playing with a kid and he changes the rules of the make-believe game that you're playing, it's like when other people win the tournament, they didn't get to carry a belt around and act as though they were the champion. When you were the champion, and let's say Tetsuya Naito had won the G1, if he had started carrying a belt around, you would have, like, Okada would have acted some kind of way about that.
Right, he'd have been pissed, yeah.
Right. But this year, he's not the IWGP champion. He happens to be the G1 winner. He's like, well, I'm the best because I won the tournament, so I get a belt. No, that's not how that works. And he's reintroducing the old version of the belt that everybody loves, but
right.
What does it represent, and what's on the, obviously, I guess we're going to learn down the line, but you got three guys. I don't like the idea of three guys walking around with the top title, because it diminishes the fact that there should have just been one strong world champion all along. And this goes way back. It's not just recent with the creation of this title, although that's a part of it. It goes back to the double gold. It goes back to unifying the white and the black belt. I will tell you, I'm not a fan of it. And even though there is a prospect that the V4 belt could come back, and I know a lot of people like that. I'm sure Okada's getting a lot of support for that. I always liked the idea that an aspect of this story was supposed to be, or at least in my perception, was that Okada has challenged for and never won the world title. It's a new milestone for him to pass. And instead, he's acting as though, everything, we're going to reset. Everything that happened this past year was a mistake. I'm gonna carry the belt that I always carried. And it's like, well, but you're not learning from your failure to challenge for the new title. Like, this milestone becomes not a milestone at all. It's like when Naito used to throw the white belts around, people are like, well, why should we care about you having that belt?
Right.
When you don't care about it. And I don't like the idea that the ace of the company is uninterested and unrecognizing the true lineage of the new world title that they have. The other thing too, and I'll leave it at this so we can answer some of these questions. I was a huge opponent to them getting rid of that title, getting rid of its lineage and design, and bringing in a new belt. Everyone knows that. But once you've done it,
it's done.
Once you do it, it's done. And then let's say now, hypothetically, he brings let's say however this shakes out, Okada wins it all, and he brings back the the old belt design. Are we reinstating the lineage of the original belt, and is it just going to be a title that was in recess,
Right.
for a year while these or whatever the time period was, while this other faux world title got defended? Are their lineages going to get amalgamated into one another, and they're just going to continue to be recognized? And maybe that's the best way to do it. Maybe you say that this is a full unification and they reinstate the IWGP's lineage into it. Maybe that would be cool. But that almost seems like a retcon.
Right. It gets very sticky depending how they do this and how this turns out.
When you're like a record stats guy like me, and you like the idea of the goofy, dinky lineages and who's the true champion and where did this belt come from, and what title got passed to what guy, and then you start playing around with it and bringing back the old title and disregarding the new title, it really makes the whole thing messy and murky. And that creates a situation where the title becomes a prop and it's not of the importance that it should be. And for years, the IWGP title has been one of, if not the most prestigious titles out there. So that's like the traditionalist of me is looking at this, and I'm like, plus, I guess I'll throw this out there. Plus, it's the third year in a row that we've had to have a convoluted title, situation mandate the ongoings at Wrestle Kingdom, instead of having that awesome G1 winner face that awesome champion in that awesome match. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those are my lists of concerns and complaints when it comes to this thing. And I feel like those need to be discussed.
Yeah, definitely. And we have a ton of questions here. First from the Puro Poppy says, so the Wrestle Kingdom main events are shaping up to be some sort of double gold dash / title versus title scenario involving the V4 heavyweight title and the world heavyweight title. I've seen a lot of support for Okada restoring the V4 title as a top title and initiating some sort of soft reset for NJPW. I understand where this comes from, but I also feel like this is a slap in the face to those who stuck with the product through the pandemic period. What do you think is the ideal situation coming out of the upcoming Wrestle Kingdom shows? Who should be the top champion, and what title should they be holding?
Well, it's a loaded question. We don't know how it's going to shake up. I mean, Jeremy, there's 3 nights. You and I are both, we didn't even talk about this off there, but I think we're both in agreement. This is probably more likely a triple gold dash.
Right. There's going to be some kind of, I don't know how it's going to work out, but all 3 of these guys, it's going to be a series of matches with all 3 of these guys that leads to a grand finale of one guy walking away with 3 belts.
And I kind of like the idea of reintroducing the IWGP title's lineage into this one. But at the same time, it's like, what right does Okada have to being the guy that does that? He didn't even
right.
He didn't even really win the title, so it gets murky there. But as far as a slap in the face to those who stuck around during the pandemic, I don't know if he means the performers.
No, I think he means the fans. Like for people who we've seen a ton of fans who have stopped watching New Japan during the pandemic. And it's kind of a slap in the face to us who have been around this whole time, because obviously with the V4 is back, fans are going to come back, and if this becomes the main title, that's going to be an attraction thing to bring back lapsed fans.
Hey, I get it, but that's just a reality. There are going to be things that happen in wrestling where, for business purposes, companies have to go away from some of the stuff that may, like for instance, look at TNA and what they did to the X division around 2010. Look at how Ring of Honor changed after they went to HDNet and after Sinclair Media Group and all them bought them. They changed.
Right.
This is just a fact of life. When there are times where companies Noah going from the green mats when they rebranded, people really didn't like that shit. So this sort of stuff happens. I mean, at the end of the day, if it makes the product hypothetically better, and I'm not saying it would, but if it did and it attracted more people, then that's always a good thing,
Right. Yeah.
So that's my optimistic take on it.
And I think the ideal situation here is we need to leave Wrestle Kingdom with one undisputed champion. Obviously, I don't know if they're gonna keep the world title or the V4 title, or they're gonna create a triple crown title.
I thought about that, and I don't like that idea.
Yeah, they we need one undisputed champion. I mean, at this point, like you said, I mean, I kind of feel like what's done has been done with the world title, and this should be a unification, and this being the unified world heavyweight championship, and just keep going on with what you're doing. But I guess if they really wanted to, they could add the lineage of the world title to the IWGP title and go from there.
There could also be the who knows? Maybe, oh yeah, you know what? Maybe there could be like those sorts of things. Like, I'm not a big fan of this, but what if they said, whichever man wins, that's the lineage that gets to stay. So like if Will wins, he would have still been recognized as having been the real champion all along. And, you know, like let's say Shingo's title reign would have got called an interim title reign. You know, and also not only that, you get to keep your belts because each one of them does have, even though Shingo and Ospreay have similar belt designs, they are slightly different. So, and that is an important thing, you know, like for instance, Shingo's belt has some damage on it. And that was always a big part of the title. Like when they would zoom in on it and you would see the weathered nature of it, that would kind of add to the story of the belt. So like maybe whichever one wins, they get their version of the belt and their lineage gets recognized. Because obviously, if Shingo wins, both of these two guys, like Jabron, you know, claims get ignored and his belt stays there and everything's as it was. Or if Okada wins, the V4 belt comes back and replaces the other two belts, and maybe it's still the world title, but the original IWGP lineage gets lumped into it.
Yeah, not sure how I feel about that, but that is definitely on the table. So
I think that this is a real thing that could happen.
Yeah. So out of those three guys, Ospreay, Okada, and Shingo, who do you think should be the guy that leaves as the undisputed champion?
And you know, this is also assuming that they don't have other title defenses on those nights that result in them maybe losing the belt to whoever, you know, like say Ibushi, for instance. For me, I don't know. Like, there's a part of me that thinks it should be Okada, but I don't like the way I think it really should pan out. If you want my honest, true opinion, Okada wins and carries the belt that Shingo is wearing and is recognized in the lineage that Shingo has, period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, you know, they're probably going to use Will's belt since that's the replacement because the other one got damaged. Plus it has a smaller waist. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, I think the winner should just carry the world title that's been established and that's it. And I think maybe it should be Okada.
Yeah,
but
I think for business purposes, it probably makes the most sense for Okada to leave all three shows as the undisputed World Heavyweight Champion. But there's this feeling in me that I just feel like Will Ospreay is going to be the guy. Like I feel like, you know, they were going to beat Okada with Ospreay in the Dome in the fake Tokyo Dome show, Wrestle Grand Slam, and I feel like they want to get that Ospreay win over Okada at the Dome.
Yeah, well, look at how many crowning achievements these three guys, but especially Shingo and Ospreay have had in the pandemic era, in empty arenas, with clap crowds. You know, it's just not quite the same thing. Like, neither one of them have truly been established as, like, a main event player in front of a raucous crowd. And we have some reason to believe that this year's Wrestle Kingdom will be more like your traditional Wrestle Kingdom. So, yeah, I could see that. And then, you know, there's also an argument for Shingo, just because of kind of what I said there. Like, even though he's been the champion, and he's never beat Will Ospreay for, you know, at least in their recent string of matches as heavyweights with the title on the line. And he's never been made in front of a big crowd like this. And maybe that's what you do, is you finally like just establish him as a true player. Like him winning the title wasn't a fluke, and you go from there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think it's a great way to, I know it's not about rewarding, but it would be a great way to reward him for his work during the pandemic era.
And I mean, you could call it rewarding, or you could also call it like wise booking because he's already a star. Like, why not, capitalize on it?
Right.
Viking Pain asked, with the injuries to Naito and Ibushi, how would you build the Wrestle Kingdom 16 main event? 3 days this year. Okada, Ospreay, Shingo, maybe Jay in some sort of double gold dash thing again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the way the build's going to come, like we mentioned, with all three guys, Ospreay, Okada, and Shingo, all fighting their claims on who the actual champion is. Now, I don't know how you get a Jay White involved. I mean, I know for Ibushi beats Shingo, he can throw his name in the hat and maybe face Shingo before Shingo even gets into the triple gold dash.
I mean, again, there are 3 nights, so maybe I've thought about a few different scenarios. Like, what if they have to have title defenses on those first 2 nights, and then they do a triple threat on the 3rd night? I'm not a big proponent of that, but that's a possibility.
Right.
Or what if they do a round robin between the 3 champions on those 3 nights?
Yeah, that could happen as well, yeah.
Or, the other thing is with the defenses, maybe you do get, I don't know, just throwing some names out there. Maybe you do get Ibushi, Cobb, and Jay White involved in this, whatever this might end up being. Those are just ideas. I don't know how it's going to be booked. I'm not going to book it out, but those are things I could see happening.
Yeah. Next question from EMJ Does PR. He says, could NJPW fuck up the legacy of the 4th generation title any worse?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he means by that, but maybe like, do you think it could in some sense be seen as like disrespectful for Okada to be trudging that belt around, and he never won it in any sort of real legitimate fashion,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see how some people can see it as disrespectful. It's kind of weird, like you mentioned, like these previous years we've had a briefcase to represent the right holder and the winner of the G1, and now he's just pulling out the IWGP Virgin 4 title, and it's like, all right, so is going forward, like every year is the G1 winner going to get that title now? Is that going to be the new like the G1 championship? Does that overthrow?
That's not a bad idea. I mean, well, maybe maybe that would get old. I don't know, but like maybe having a belt represent the G1 winner would be like a thing. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe that also detracts from the actual title itself. So who knows?
Right, but I feel like then you get caught in this loop of double gold, triple gold dashes if you have a G1 champion.
Yeah. The other thing too is, Okada's kind of been getting called out by different people for not being like the best like leader of chaos, maybe not the best team player. And then I even heard people are complaining about the way he like addressed chaos at the post match after he won. So, like I almost feel like Okada's like, fuck, I don't give a fuck about legacies and
right.
What I care about that for.
Yeah. Well,
Dom Homie 101. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Dom Homie 101 said, is it possible we see Okada go to the Kenta route and just defend the 4th IWGP title similar to Kenta defending the red briefcase for a long period of time? Oh, like he just holds on to it and doesn't like cash in a title shot against Shingo or anybody? That'd be weird.
That would be weird, but I think he's talking about, Kenta defended the red briefcase a lot kind of in that build up before he finally faced Moxley, and so I think we are going to see.
Also for a long time until he finally fought him. So like, what if they don't? I don't know. Of course they would probably not do this, but like, what if for some reason he doesn't like wrestle Shingo during Wrestle Kingdom and he just keeps holding the belt post that? Like, I don't know. That'd be weird, right?
That could be weird. I mean, we're going to talk about the Power Struggle card here in a second, but we do have a briefcase or a right to challenge match with Tama and Okada. So is the belt on the line? I don't know.
He also asked, with Okada bringing back the 4th version of the IWGP Championship, how does this make guys like Shingo and Ospreay look like?
Well, I think it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's like it kind of devalues the main world championship. The more guys you have running around saying that they're champion. So in one sense, it kind of hurts mainly Shingo because he is the actual world champion.
I guess.
But at the same time, I do get like the claim. Like I get Ospreay's claim, and I do get Okada's claim.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked about this on the show before. Like, the whole thing with the All Japan Triple Crown was the long, lengthy history of those belts and the prestige of who had held them and where they came from and everything. When they were added together, they became a whole that was greater than the sum of their parts, which was already pretty substantial, But when you look at this, you're talking about a fake world title, a fake version 4 belt, and then the real recognized world title, which has only been in existence for a very short period of time, that's held by someone who didn't beat the previous champion. So you got literally 3 belts that are weak as fuck being added together, and I don't think it makes them actually stronger at the end of it. It's almost like worse off because they have done this because they can't still continue. Like I'm of the different opinion of the way they book these big Wrestle Kingdom shows. I think they could easily do the G1 winner against the IWGP champion, and then headline the other night, or I guess 2 nights now, with other shit. And then you could fulfill the whole junior champion headlining a Tokyo Dome show or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely other options. Yeah, you can get a junior title match at the main event. You can do a crazy blood feud. Like if Shibata comes back, you could do Shibata in a main event in a non-title match, something like that.
Right. Or you've got those other belts that are held by supposedly big stars in Tanahashi and Jay White. Is there any reason that you couldn't do something compelling, a big enough match where Tanahashi with the red belt couldn't headline and elevate the prestige of the United States title? Or Jay White, he's headlined domes too. Like, I don't see why you couldn't do that. Like, this whole route just seems super convoluted to me.
Yeah. Well, real quick.
And I'll say this, it was cool once. Like, do it once. Cool. But like, I blame Becky Lynch. When Becky 2 belts became a thing, all of a sudden everyone had to hold 2, 3, 4, 5 belts. Like that, this is her fucking fault. And Ronda Rousey.
Blame the man.
Yeah.
So real quick, let's take a look at the Power Struggle card that was announced. Obviously, we'll do predictions when we get a little bit closer to the actual show. But so as announced, we have the main event for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Shingo Takagi will defend against Zack Sabre Jr. The right to challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Kazuchika Okada defends against Tama Tonga. The IWGP US Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Hiroshi Tanahashi defends against Kenta. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship defense, Robbie Eagles will defend against El Desperado. We will have a provisional KOPW 2021 match between Toru Yano and the Great Ocon. And Toru Yano and Ocon have proposed their stipulations for the November 6th bout. Yano has proposed a amateur rules match, while Ocon has proposed a Kiss My Feet match. And the stipulations are posted on the NJPW Global Twitter account right now for fans to vote in. As of right now, Yano's amateur rules match has been winning the poll.
Oh, they're going to start off in, position.
Referee's position. It's going to be a shoot. There'll also be a never openweight 6-man tag defense as Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi will defend against the House of Tortures, Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, and Sho. Then we'll have LIJ, Sonata, Hiromu, Ibushi taking on Nagata, Taguchi, Master Wato. Then Makabe, Honma, and Tiger Mask against Tangaloa and Gato and Jado. And then the show will open up with Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Doki versus Oiwa and Fujita.
Man, stack show. Rambo Slam Pig said the card for Power Struggle looks pretty good. Is there a match you think will surprise or over-deliver relative to expectations? What are you thinking there?
Honestly, there's not really anything popping out to me that I think will be a surprise or over-deliver. Based on what's here, I feel like all the matches are going to deliver to what I expect them to deliver to.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably say something like Evil and Desperado have a lot of potential I guess the same thing potentially with Okada and Tama Tonga, depending what kind of match they have. But I think a lot of this is you're gonna get you see exactly what you're gonna get ahead of time, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Okada and Tama Tonga, they had a really good match in the G1, and depending on the time they're given, like I think they could have another really good match yet again, and also they can tease the gun stun, and the J Driller that put Okada away. So I think that's an added drama they could add there. So I think everything here is going to be what you expect. I think Tanahashi and Kenta could have
Had a really great red belt match.
They did. I was thinking based off of Kenta's G1 and how he was doing a lot of gimmicking and powdering and shenanigans. Like if that happened in this Tanahashi match, that could underdeliver to what people expect.
Gatone asked, who do you guys think, if anybody, will return for the upcoming tours? But we already have pretty much everything locked, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the one return that we have is Aaron Hanare is back on this Power Struggle tour, and he's coming back in from his injury and being in lockdown. We have
Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles is back from the U.S. And
that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
So, we've had some Power Struggle Road 2 shows. Sunday, October 24th. I'm assuming you just want us to run through these.
Yeah.
Tenzan Wato and Taguchi defeated Flying Tiger along with Oiwa. House of Torture, the 6-man unit, defeated the Chaos team of Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi, along with Fujita in 8-man tag. United Empire, Hanari and Ocon defeated Kojima and Yano, 11 minutes. Tanahashi and Nagata defeated the Bullet Club team of Gato and Kenta, 10 minutes, 14 seconds. And then the Bullet Club team of Jado, Tama Tonga, and Tangaloa defeated Okada, Togi Makabe, and Tomoaki Hanma. Main event, 8-man tag team elimination style match. We had the team of Suzuki Gun, Doki, Desperado, Kanemaru, and Zack Sabre Jr. They defeated the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Sonata, and Shingo Takagi. Sabre and Bushi were the final two in the match. Sabre won by submission with "Yes, I am a long way from home."
Yeah, and also in that match, Sabre did eliminate Shingo, and there was a face-off post-match, also building the feud for that title match. Then on Monday, October 25th, we had Sho defeating Oiwa in the opener. Then LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, they defeated Fujita and Taguchi. United Empire, Aaron Hanare and Great Ocon defeated Makabe and Yano. LIJ team of Sonata and Shingo defeated Kojima and Hanma, also known as the Breadhead team. Then the semi-main event, we had the Suzuki team of Doki, Desperado, Kanemaru, and Sabre defeating Flying Tigers, Tenzan, and Master Wato. And then the main event was a 10-man tag elimination match with the Chaos team of Goto, Okada, Ishii, and Yoshihashi teaming with Tanahashi, and they defeated the Bullet Club team of Evil, Kenta, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Yujiro Takahashi.
And then today, Tuesday, October 26th, we had another Road 2 show as the LIJ team of Hiromu and Sonata. They defeated Taguchi and Yuji Nagata. Dick Togo, Evil, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi, the Bullet Club. They defeated the Chaos team of Goto, Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Master Wato. Third match, the United Empire, Aaron Hanare and Great Ocon. They defeated Hanma and Yano. The fourth match, Tanahashi and Toge Makabe defeated Bullet Club team of Gato and Kenta. Fifth match of the night, Jado, Tama Tonga, and Tangaloa. The Bullet Club defeated Tenzan, Okada, and Kojima. Semi-main event, Doki and Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Bushi and Shingo Takagi. And then the main event, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles on the line as Flying Tiger, Robbie Eagles, and Tiger Mask, they defeated El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, 20 minutes and 30 seconds. So we had a title change. Robbie Eagles, who is also the reigning IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, is now a double champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it feels like every IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion for the past couple of years has also, at some point, simultaneously held the tag titles. So
yeah, very interesting that they pulled this win up here. You know, Eagles and Tiger Mask, kind of a thrown together team. They did in the little Super Junior Tag League that they did. Wasn't expecting these guys to get the win here. So yeah, big kind of surprising win. And Eagles goes into the title match at Power Struggle with both belts and a lot of momentum.
Awesome. So that's going to do it for that. We've got some Power Struggle Road 2 shows coming up on Wednesday, October 27th, Friday, October 29th, Saturday, October 30th, Sunday, October 31st, is Halloween, Monday, November 1st, and then Thursday, November 4th. Did you want to run through each and every one of these, or were there big matches that you wanted to point out? I wasn't sure. That's a lot of shows.
There's a lot of shows. Yeah, we don't have to run through the cards. You guys can go to NJPW1972.com, click on the schedule, and look at the upcoming cards. There really aren't any other really big matches. They're all kind of multi-man matches building up to Power Struggle. You have some Young Lion matches in the opener, like Sho and Fujita, Taguchi, Fujita, Yujiro, and Oiwa. We have Yuto Nakashima is returning, the Young Lion who got injured. He's coming back on the 31st show.
That's what I was going to say. That's the one big thing is Yuto Nakashima returning to take on Oiwa and then taking on Fujita the next night.
Yeah, besides that, that's pretty much it. So we can move on to the next thing, which is Battle in the
Yeah, I'm looking at these lists and I'm like, there's not even like, you know, your signature style Road 2 matches that like where you need to see it.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure the guys will work hard, but yeah, there's nothing like can't miss, at least on paper.
So let's talk about Battle in the Valley, Saturday, November 13th. We had some big updates there.
Yeah, so first thing, during the Philadelphia tapings, there was a video package for Buddy Matthews, the former Buddy Murphy. He will be debuting at Battle in the Valley.
Yeah, a lot of people excited about that. Welcome addition. You know, interesting to see what they plan to do with him, pair him up with, you know, that sort of thing. We also received word that Kazuchika Okada has been added to NJPW San Jose show next month. We'd kind of already hinted at that quite a bit here on the show.
Right, yeah.
Rambo Slam Pig asked, Okada is in the States in November for an NJPW show. Do you think we'll hear a coin drop on TNT around the same time, or is that too big of a name to come through the forbidden door at this point?
I don't know. I mean, of course, it would be awesome to have Okada do something in AEW while he's here, but he's just a big star. I feel like if you're going to use him, you want to build to something, and I would think you would build to a pay-per-view match with one of the top AEW guys.
Yeah, I don't know if you bring him in for like a small one-shot unless, I mean, if you did, you pretty much have him beat someone that's a big enough name that can eat the loss cleanly, like pretty easily. But with everything going on right now with the title picture and G1 season, or, you know, with Wrestle Kingdom season coming up, that wouldn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right.
We'll see.
And I do think with Okada officially being announced and there is rumors of Shingo being on this show as well, I think we're going to get the big angle for the Triple Gold Dash at this show with Okada, Shingo, and Ospreay all being in the same building.
I agree. There's also a new Never Openweight title match that was added. Jay White versus Tomohiro Ishii. And, you know, we kind of already knew that was sort of going to happen based off some of the angles that they've had. Ishii has agreed to the stipulation that if he loses, he can never challenge for the Never Openweight Championship again. He agreed to the new stipulation after Jay White cut a promo accepting the challenge Ishii had issued back in September. White said he would only accept it, however, if the stipulation was added. So, you know, obviously that title's synonymous with names like Tomohiro Ishii and like Goto and Shibata. So if he can never hold that belt again, that would be a pretty big development in, you know, just the landscape of New Japan.
Yeah, and I think, too, this match is going to be very important, just the future of the Never title, because I feel like they were trying to make it the secondary title with the IC being retired, but now the U.S. title is finally back. So, I mean, if Ishii wins, I feel like it's going to be slotted back to what it was. Then if Jay wins, I think they're going to continue to try and elevate it.
I could see that. And so, yeah, I don't disagree. Dom Ho 101 asks, will you guys be attending the Battle of the Valley show? Any thoughts on what the card will look like? And I can say we will not be at the show. You know, we probably could if we wanted to, but, you know, I don't think I got the money and time to do all that.
Yeah, November's a busy time.
So, yeah, as far as the card, I don't know. I don't personally want to speculate on it. The only thing we do know, and it hasn't been added here, I don't know if we talked about it, John Moxley was originally announced for this show, but it's happening on the same night as one of the AEW pay-per-views, so he's kind of like been pulled, I guess.
Yeah, Moxley's officially been pulled from Battle in the Valley. They didn't make up for it. He was on the Philadelphia tapings with him and Archer again, or him and Kingston against Archer and Suzuki. But I'm assuming that there'll probably be another make good in the future to use Moxley.
Yeah. Other than that, I couldn't even begin to speculate what the show's going to look like. I did hear some people. Well, there was something where Buddy Matthews was on social media saying, "Give me Okada."
Right. Yeah, that's what he wants. Yeah.
So what if they did him and Okada? Autumn Attack,
It'd be a great first matchup for Matthews. He could live out his Kenny Omega cosplay and face Okada. Yeah. They can have an Okada Omega match.
So anyways, that's gonna do it for news on that. We're gonna move on to New Japan Strong Autumn Attack Night 3, Saturday, October 23rd. 4 matches here.
Yeah, so the show opened up. We had Alex Coughlin, Kevin Knight, Ren Narita, and Ryusuke Taguchi, and the DKC. They defeated the team of Brogan Finley, brother of David Finley, Freddie Ahai, Wheeler Utah, and Will Allday, a local Texas indie guy. Good opening matchup here. It's kind of like your standard kind of, young lion, multi-man opener. Everybody got their shot to shine. I thought Brogan Finley looked pretty good here, but the Coughlin team gets the win. In the second matchup, we had the Dirty Birds of Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson and Robbie Eagles. They defeated the Bull Club team of Chris Bay and El Phantasmo. Fun little matchup there. Then the semi-main event, we had the United Empire, the new member, TJP, him and Will Ospreay. They defeated the team of Clark Connors and Carl Fredericks. Very good matchup here. Started hot. The LA Dojo guys, they jumped Ospreay and TJP in the entranceway. Wild brawl throughout. Very good back and forth matchup here, but towards the end, Ospreay pulled off the turnbuckle pad. TJP was able to hit Connors into it, and TJP pulled a schoolboy, got the win there. So I do think that is one match we could see at Battle in the Valley is TJP versus Clark Connors and continuing that rivalry there. And then the big main event, we had the bull rope match between Juice Robinson and Hikuleo, kind of capping off of their feud. Juice Robinson ends up getting the big victory here. Hikuleo's becoming the plunder god of New Japan Strong for all the stipulation matches he's been having. But this was a very good back and forth matchup here. A lot of plunder, a lot of innovative spots, and Juice getting a big win here.
Nice.
And then this coming up Saturday, we have more Autumn Attack action with a main event of Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer versus Tom Lawler and Royce Isaacs. Semi-main event will have Leo Rush versus Taiji Ishimori. I'm really looking forward to that one. And the show will open up with Fred Rosser and our good friend Rocky Romero versus Team Filthy's JR Kratos and Danny Limelight.
So here in the news, we got some updates. In Japan, with COVID cases way down and everyone on the roster vaccinated, they're going to change and do more matches on the big shows and even the regular shows, as well as longer big shows. I don't think we've heard anything about the mandates as far as like the protocols for the crowd changing just yet, but I'm expecting that's probably on the way as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
There was a new Black Tiger that debuted on October 17th and attacked Rocky Romero and Tom Lawler. Said it was Romero's past coming back to finish him. Romero, earlier in his career, was the 4th Black Tiger in New Japan, following Rollerball Rocco, who made the gimmick, Eddie Guerrero, and Cesar Gonzalez, who was better known as Silver King. Do you know who the Black Tiger is?
I saw a name of who possibly could.
I know who it is, but I don't know if we're supposed to say. Is it like spoiling or?
Yeah, it probably would be spoiling. So.
Okay, so you can look that up. It's out there. He's got history in the LA area. Well-known indie wrestler. That's all I'll say. Also on the October 17th show, saw the return of Gabriel Kidd, who did a tremendous interview. Really a must-see. He was living in Japan and at the dojo. Didn't go home during COVID, and then there was an issue regarding COVID on the road, and he basically went into major depression. He said that this was about to get real. He talked about living in the dojo in Tokyo for 18 months during COVID. He said that led to communication issues with his family, as he never came back to see them. He said that this past May, he was on top of a building, was thinking about jumping off, and he said that 2 things that stopped him. One was he thought of how his mom would react, and the other was his love for pro wrestling. He issued a challenge to Jonathan Gresham to a match in Riverside. Gresham came out. Kid said he would not let Gresham out wrestle a British wrestler. Told him to go back and study more Stephen Gray tapes. Gresham said that he had no idea who Kid was since he's been following New Japan, but that he wanted to give respect to Alex Coughlin, who he had just wrestled, and he accepted Kid's challenge. The two shook hands. Kid then talked about if anyone is going through depression and has issues, to seek help from family and friends.
Yeah, so
pretty heavy stuff there.
Yeah, really powerful. And they made that whole segment available on their YouTube channel. I would definitely, if you don't have a trigger for that, I think you should definitely go out of the way, watch it. Very emotional promo there with Gabriel Kidd, and I'm just glad that he did decide not to jump, and he's doing better now. And I just hope that he will continue to get the help that he needs. And I'm looking forward to seeing him and Gresham at the Detonation tapings.
He told Gresham to go watch Steve Gray. I will say this. I've said this on the show many times, but most people probably wouldn't recall. But, it's a widely known fact that Steve Gray, literally my favorite World of Sport wrestler. So that's really funny that he brought up Steve, because Steve Gray's so, nobody knows him,
Right.
Yeah. For my money, the best counter wrestler that there's probably ever been, and the best escape style wrestler. He fucking rocks. If you guys have never seen Steve Gray, you should check him out. And I'm not saying an old he's great, Harley Racer's great. I'm talking he's great, Bryan Danielson's great. Will Ospreay will be holding an online meet and greet live on YouTube in collaboration with Tokon Shop Global. Other news: Prestige Wrestling original and NJPW star Clark Connors returns to Rise Above. That's for Prestige, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Prestige Wrestling. Yeah, February 27th, 2022.
Awesome. Fresh off the G1, Jeff Cobb returned to Defy to face Jacob Fatu. Defy will return to Washington Hall at Defy Marauders. That's October 29th. So I also saw that he's wrestling. It's East Coast versus the World. Have you heard about East Coast Wrestling?
I have not.
East Coast Pro?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. West Coast Pro.
Okay, I have heard of West Coast Pro.
Yeah, they're blowing up. They're doing a show. I don't know the exact date, but it's West Coast Pro versus the World, and it's Chris Dickinson against Jeff Cobb.
Oh, I didn't see that. That'll be an awesome matchup.
Yeah. GCW Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 7 just happened recently. It was, this past weekend?
Yeah, it was this past Friday.
Yep, so we had the results from that. The big ones: Minoru Suzuki defeated Chris Dickinson 15 minutes and 14 seconds. Josh Barnett defeated Tiger Huas in the semi-main event, 10 minutes, 8 seconds. Josh, obviously a New Japan alumni. Davey Richards wrestled Yuya Uemura, defeated him 7 minutes and 11 seconds. Tom Lawler defeated Alex Coughlin in 9 minutes, 1 second. Jared Kratos defeated Calvin Tankman, 6 minutes and 38 seconds. That sounds awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
And then Clark Connors defeated Royce Isaacs, 5 minutes, 28 seconds. So quite a bit of New Japan representation on this card.
Yeah, also Rocky was doing commentary for that show also.
I definitely need to check this out. I haven't watched the show, but I'd really like to, because I've seen all the other Bloodsport. So, and then GCW War Ready, Minoru Suzuki also defeated Nick Gage, 14 minutes and 56 seconds.
Yeah, not seeing a ton of great reviews for that match so far.
Oh, Minoru Suzuki in his 50s wrestling deathmatch wrestler Nick Gage. Wasn't that good? I'm not surprised.
Yo, dude, speaking of Nick Gage, so my girlfriend's been watching all the Dark Sides of the Ring, and she's already caught up on season 3. She just watched the Nick Gage episode, and she's just like, why? Why are people into this guy? Why do wrestlers trust him with their body? After all the crazy crap that he's been through, why does he keep getting pushed? Why are there people that pay to watch him? She was just flabbergasted by Nick Gage.
Well, the funny thing with my girlfriend is she knows a lot about wrestling. She's not for instance, your girlfriend who's, unfamiliar with it. My girlfriend's very familiar with wrestling, but we've been watching Dark Side of the Ring, and even some of these recent episodes were finally covering stuff that even, this XPW one, I don't know anything about that. And Rob Black and all that. Like Messiah getting his thumb cut off, I was like, how do I not know this story? That's like, it's a crazy story. I never knew about it. But we're watching them, and like every time we watch one, she always wants to watch them. She's always like, is there a new Dark Side? You should put that on. Let's watch it. And then I put it on, and she's like, why do people do this? I hate what they're doing, right? Like, especially like when it's like hardcore, like the New Jack episode, the FMW episode, the Nick Gage episode, this XPW one. She's like, I hate this stuff. It's disgusting. Like, and I'm like, the show is called Dark Side of the Ring. Like, it's not Happy Side of the Ring. Oh man, but we got some questions, and we're gonna get out of here. Start off with Viking Pain. He said, was Suzuki returning to Japan recently? What was your favorite U.S. excursion match of his? Brian Suzuki was great, but I really liked Suzuki Dickinson more. I'm guessing he's talking about because they wrestled on both Bloodsport as well as what's it called?
They wrestled on Strong on the Philadelphia tapings.
That's what I meant. Yeah. So I don't even know which of those two Dickinson matches he means specifically. I'm guessing maybe he means the Bloodsport.
Yeah, because unless he was there live in Philadelphia, then because that match hasn't aired yet. He's probably talking about the Bloodsport match.
For me, I have to say Brian Suzuki, and I said that last week. I haven't seen enough of his excursion stuff yet, but that sounds inspiring. You know, the idea that him and Dickinson had a great main event. I do the match that he had with Josh Barnett at Bloodsport New York a couple years ago was like just all-time legendary, legit. So I could only imagine what a match with these guys was like.
Yeah, I'd also have to go with Brian and Suzuki, and like you, I haven't seen everything. I mean, I've started to make lists, especially as we have the excursion match of the year coming up, and
I'll start working on it.
I mean, I've started pulling a whole bunch of matches, but I did see the Suzuki and Dickinson match got a ton of great reviews and ratings on Cage Match. But right now, the Brian Suzuki match on Cage Match Grapple across reviewers, that's a top match that he had in the U.S.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a must watch. Kenta and ZSJ have been doing fantastic promo work recently. Which of the two have been the most entertaining for you guys to watch?
Well, first of all, I think both these guys have been doing great promos.
Forever.
Yeah, since they've been in New Japan. I don't know. For me, I think I'm a little bit more.
I like Zack.
Yeah, I would say I like Zack, dude. I freaking love this line after he beat Yujiro, and he's like, "A pimp in this day and age, Kevin." Like, he just had so many great like one-liners. Like,
he has a lot of like really funny quips and just like little, biting remarks. It's kind of funny.
Throw in the bin with Naito's knees.
We talk about Tanahashi being held together by like hairspray and tape.
Yeah.
A non-NJPW related question, but still kind of interesting just to hear your takes. What do you guys think about the whole Charlotte Becky title situation that's been blowing up on the internet recently? And I'll start off first. I don't watch SmackDown. It took me days to figure out what the fuck was going on because I just kept like, I'm in group chats and I kept seeing people saying stuff, but like and to this point I still don't really know what happened. I guess I basically just know that they didn't like a segment they were having to do. Someone may have sabotaged it, maybe they didn't, but the whole entire skit got fucked up. And then they got into a big fight backstage, and Charlotte's got heat. And maybe she got escorted off the property, and maybe she's trying to get out of her shit. I don't know. Also, did she cut up Becky's gear? Did that happen? I don't know.
I don't know. There's a rumor, like, there's been a ton of like fake news stories coming out on just random stuff that Charlotte did after.
Oh, so I shouldn't be saying all this shit because it could be like not based in fact.
Well, that is, but the main story is kind of have been reported from multiple sources that kind of agree. So the whole thing was obviously they both got drafted to different brands. They were the women's champions of the opposite brands. So like they did with the tag titles last year, they had to switch titles. And apparently Charlotte wasn't happy with the whole switching title segment and thought it made her look weak and wasn't happy with it. She dropped the belt when she was supposed to hand it to Becky. Becky got pissed. Becky threw her belt at Charlotte. And the whole segment just didn't come out great. And then, backstage, apparently they were both heated. And Charlotte was escorted off the premises. And pretty much...
I heard Sonya Deville wanted, to run it with Charlotte.
Yeah, apparently, she was mad at us. She was mad enough to fight, wanting to fight Charlotte. And pretty much the whole locker room is backing Becky Lynch. And Charlotte was trying to say it was an accident that she dropped the title. And,
no one believed her.
Yeah, nobody believed her. It's a whole hot mess.
I don't know, man. I don't give a fuck about that stuff, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of dumb. And I mean, it's like, the thing with wrestling, like, you can book it out. Like, they didn't have to be the brand, the champion brand. They didn't have to do this belt switch. Like, they could have dropped the belts before the draft and not even had to worry about all this, but whatever.
That's not really what I mean. I mean, like, I don't give a fuck about them or WWE or anything related to that. And it's women's wrestling. Like, why are you asking? Why are you asking us? We only like men's wrestling. We're New Japan.
Oh, man. Gonna get us some heat, man.
I'm just joking. Dom Homie 101 said, time for some fight talk.
So he asked thoughts on Shakur Stevenson's amazing performance against Jamel Herring, and it's the sky the limit for Shakur. In my opinion, I think guys like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and Tank Davis are boxing sons of Floyd Mayweather. They're all got traits of Floyd.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. In different ways, yeah, they each one of them is definitely. I mean, Floyd is so influential in his style, in his defensive patterns, and even just like the way he carried himself throughout his career as far as his health regimens and his diet and things like that. There's a lot of, say what you want about the man, but like from a business perspective and then from a fighting perspective, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. And, I know he thinks nobody past, present, or future is ever going to be better than him. And maybe there's some semblance of truth to that, but I think there's going to be a crop of guys that come up that have taken some of the best aspects of what he does and improve upon it. And I think that's kind of what's happened a little bit here with some of these guys. But, yeah, Shakur, especially the way he worked off the jab and he threw combos off the jab, reminded me a lot of the way that Floyd would do his pot shotting. And like Shakur Stevenson understood the assignment. He went out there and decimated Jamel Herring. Like, it was really impressive. So, congrats to him.
Then he also asked any thoughts on Andre Ward giving Caleb Plant advice on how to beat Canelo. And does it seem like Andre Ward could be looking for the Canelo fight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People are making a big deal about him offering advice. I mean, boxing is a very giving sport. And, it's not uncommon for guys that have fought in the past to later on spar and train together and go attend each other's camps or give each other advice. So I don't think it's a big deal at all that Andre Ward was giving Caleb Plant advice. That's like the one fight that a lot of people were clamoring for was Andre Ward to come out of retirement to fight Canelo. And I'm someone who maybe would favor Andre Ward in that hypothetical matchup, provided Andre Ward was still in prime physical condition and able to go. That, who knows, the ship might have sailed on that. But Andre's denied wanting that fight for so long and could have easily probably made that deal at a more optimum time for him. Unless he was just being money-tistic. Like, I don't see like how, what has changed in his behavior looking for that fight, but maybe, who knows?
Nice. Well, let's wrap things up here with the recommended match of the week. Last week we had on the Ghoul, Dan Coffin. A lot of great reviews for Dan's appearance here on Keeping It Strong Style. He recommended Rick Rude versus Chono from the 92 G1. So, Josh, I know you've seen this match before. It's my first time watching the match, and very entertained with the matchup. And, just how hot the crowd is. And also, that's one thing I just miss about New Japan, just how hot these crowds were. And the crowd was so firmly behind Chono, and was kind of living and dying with his every move. And the heat that Rick Rude was getting. I just love the opening of the match. Like they ran it straight from when the bell rang, and you get Rick Rude kind of doing his like version of the flare flop after the opening sequence, and eventually, Rick Rude would try to work over the leg, do some figure four stuff, and it was kind of a great back and forth action here until Chono finally ends up getting the win. Very, very great matchup here. Definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, lengthy match, 29 minutes, 44 seconds. And, this not only crowned the G1 Climax winner, but the new, NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. So there was added stakes there. A little bit of a divisive match, I think, because of it had such a high reputation at the time. Like Dave went like 4.5 on it. There was almost like a pendulum swing the other way where a lot of people were comparing it to All Japan, let's say, and, talking down on the match and, kind of criticizing the methodical nature of it and, basically that it was a little bit overrated. And then that kind of swung so far in that direction that in recent years, people have kind of rediscovered this match and been like, what are these people talking about? But I do think a lot of what makes that match great is the crowd. There is a little bit of a split dichotomy. Like, I don't think if you put this 1992 match in front of a modern crowd, it would get quite the same response. But the stars were aligned. The tournament was so hot at the time and had so much heat, and where these guys were in the trajectory of their careers, like this crowd was on fire for this match, and it's one of the hotter G1s of all time.
Yeah, I think for me, the big takeaway was just like how great Rick Rude was. Like, also growing up in the 90s, like Rick Rude was pretty much a manager at that point when I was watching wrestling. So I really see like a ton of
When did you like first start?
Like when I was like 3 or 4, so like 93, 94.
Okay. Because he was pretty much done in like 92. So, okay, yeah, so you wouldn't have seen him. See, like, because I remember seeing Rick Rude from early on, like I saw him in WWF and I saw him in WCW in those, couple years. So it's weird for me to hear you say that he was like just a manager to you.
Right. I mean, since then I've gone back and seen stuff, but still, like, yeah.
No, I mean, just at the time even.
Yeah. Cause I mean, to me, it was like, he was the guy that was with DX.
No. To me, he's the dude that like made out with chicks at like ringside and like gyrated his like pelvis and shit. trying to fuck Jake the Snake's Robert's wife.
All right.
Well, yeah, he was great. Like Rick Rude was truly like great. Like he was a master.
Yeah, like his selling and just the way like he reacted to stuff and just how that match was put together. Like, yeah, he was awesome in the match.
Where would you go star ratings wise after seeing this one?
I'd probably go like 4.25, 4.5, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I agree. Really good match. Glad it's on the docket of recommended matches. If you guys didn't watch it, I'd recommend it. It's better than watching these Road 2 shows.
Well, I have another recommended match of the week for us this week. So to get us hyped for Power Struggle, going back to Power Struggle 2013, the never openweight title on the line as a champion, Tetsuya Naito defends against Masato Tanaka.
Yeah, that's a good match.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Haven't seen this match. I love Tanaka, and I'm sure him and Naito had a good matchup here, and so some good stuff on Cage Match, good reviews and ratings there. So looking forward to checking this one out.
Nice. Well, I think that's going to do it, right? Yeah,
that's going to wrap things up. Next week, we'll be back to get our full preview and predictions of Power Struggle, talk about any stuff happening on the Road to shows, and of course, covering all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we are at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boy. The Grave Consequences Podcast, hosted by Caleb and Maserati. 8-Bit Suplex with Josh #2. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. The Great Match Generator with Danny. And coming soon this month, the AEW Match Guide Podcast, hosted by Sir Sam Brown. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keepin It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.